We're running out of vPubs for 2025. I get caught short a little bit this year. There's only 3 sessions left in this year, and I'll explain a wee bit as to why a bit later for those of you that haven't worked it out. However, there were a few topics that I had to fit in before the end of the year. There's an on-location vPub coming up from a secret location. We've got our annual Cask Strength session that we're covering tonight. I almost missed that completely this year. And we've also got our best of 2024, sorry, our best of 2025, of course. And our party session, our gathering, our community session. How are we going to squeeze that all into the last 3 sessions before we finish up for the year? Well, I've got a bit of a plan. We'll just need to try and make it work. But tonight, we're going to try and tackle our annual Cask Strength session. That's a session where we tend to focus on official bottlings of Cask Strength releases from the official outlets, from the distilleries themselves, and see what they're bringing us, at what price point, at what quality, what engagement, what value. All of that stuff. And a heck of a lot more because of what's been going on over the last couple of weeks. It's all coming up in a second. I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to Thursday night. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I'm in a much better place than I was when I spoke to everyone last week, but I still had a fantastic time last week. I had a fantastic time hanging out with the community and celebrating the fact that we've been doing this crazy thing on a Thursday night for 8 years, and it was great, great, great fun. Fantastic session. I felt it was a wee bit chaotic from my side, and I didn't know how much people would enjoy watching that, but the feedback's been really, really super positive. You seem to get along with it just fine, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank you. I've got a lot to be grateful for tonight. Obviously, last week was Thanksgiving, and we spent a bit of time just being grateful for what we have, the community and everything, and certainly I'm very, very grateful. And, I'm never ever going to tire of telling you that I'm grateful and thanking you all, because it's still quite a special thing, I have to say, from my own personal, selfish perspective. But there's been some headwinds recently, and there's been some challenges. And I was in a really, really bad headspace 2 or 3 weeks ago, wondering how to tackle these challenges. And now I'm in a position that hugely, through inspiration, support, just fantastic community guidance, things have mostly been solved. I would say we're about 80% there. So I'm going to spend a wee bit of time talking to you about that tonight, before we get into the whole Cask Strength thing. The wheels have come off the whole Cask Strength thing for this year, because there's been 1 or 2 that I wasn't motivated to buy. And I changed my mind at the last minute. There was one that I did buy. In fact, I bought it at the weekend, but they didn't ship it until today for some reason. We'll talk more about that. So it's just been shipped today, so it's just not going to feature. I suppose it's going to be a bottle there that I could maybe use for a future vPub, but it's definitely a Cask Strength official release, and I bought it direct from the distillery, and I think it's a shame that they never bothered to ship it. We'll talk about that in a wee bit. The thing is, though, because I don't have many vPubs left until the year's end, I've got some bits and pieces, some things that I need to share with you tonight, because there's no other space until 2026. And I think next year, if I'm talking about these, it'll feel very last year. So I'm going to talk about them tonight, and I'll still be able to share some Cask Strength delights with you a wee bit later on as well. So that's the session for this evening. I hope you're in a comfy spot. I hope you've got the good fortune of being able to sit with a dram in hand. And if you've not, maybe a nice wee cup of tea or something like that, just for a couple of hours of quiet, relaxed whiskey time. I really do look forward to it. Welcome, everyone. It's fantastic to have you here. Cheers. Quite a lot to share with you tonight, but before we go on with all of that, it's a lovely wee dram Before we get into all of that, I'm going to do what we always do. I'm going to jump into the lounge and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk, dedicated barflies and superhero guardians. Derek McGrainer is in saying, good evening, folks. Good evening, Gaffer. Good to see you, Derek. How are you doing? I managed to share a wee sample that you gave me to help celebrate the 8 years of the vPub last week, the sample that you gave me of your Loch Lomond. But that's all I've had out at Derek, so the rest of it can go back to you, or it can potentially get handed on to someone else who wasn't able to sample the first ever Aquavite release that went out. Thank you, Derek. Thank you so much, buddy. It's nice to have you. And Dave Barnes is saying, good evening, Guardian number 1. Good to have you, Dave. How are you keeping, my friend? And Dorpass Whiskey is saying, cheers, Roy. Good to see you, Tim. Julian Rickman is in saying, evening, Roy. Evening, Barflies. Looking forward to a full strength vPub tonight. Good way of looking at it, Julian. We will get there. We will get there, buddy. Donny's Rams is saying, hello, Barflies. Are we all buzzing for some Cask Strength Rams? Hi, Roy. Hi, Quavidi. Hope your stress level has reduced. It has, buddy. Donny's Rams. I wonder who that is. Do we know each other, Donny? It's nice to welcome you in, fella. Stress levels are, let's say, back to much more manageable levels. Michael Wood is here. Thank you so much, Michael, for your recent support as well. He's saying hello to everybody, and he's saying hello to Aquaviti. Great to see you all in here tonight. Great to see you too, Michael. Paul Iverson is here saying, just opened the virtual malt this evening. Fabulous. I'm very grateful. I'm worried there's a lot of people that's just getting delivered today. Jimmy Jazz in the States actually got his today as well. Amazing service. And I'm hoping that we're all going to give it time to settle a wee bit. There might be a wee bit of bottle shock, but Paul, you know better, right? Hopefully you're enjoying it. A lot of people managed to taste it up in Glasgow, so a lot of people are getting in there knowing what it is. Gene Kelly saying, greetings. I hope the switch over is going well. Looks good from here. I'm going to cover that for a wee bit, Gene, if you don't mind, a wee bit later. If I can ask everyone to indulge me for a few minutes, I can let them know exactly. I can't believe the messages I'm still getting. People sending me, oh, I hear that you've cancelled your Patreon. Not true. I hear that Patreon have cancelled you. Not true. All of these kind of almost conspiracy things that people are just like, oh wow, and then they're hearing about the Guardians initiative and all of that stuff, and they're saying, what's going on, and they're looking for controversy where there is none, and certainly not yet. But what we do have is a proactive decision on my part, and that's meant changes for everyone that supports. So I'll do my very, very best to just give you an update and a very, very fast executive summary tonight of where we're at. Good to have you. Good to have you, Gene. Petehead is saying, evening, barman. Good to see you in the Patreon bar. There's a lot of people calling it Patreon. That's right. Gerben Blocker is saying, hope that it's settled somewhat. Good evening, Roy. Good to have you, Gerben. I hope you're keeping well. Tim Pills is saying, evening, Roy. Looking remarkably fresh. Given all your hard work this week, looking forward to the annual Cask Strength episode. Coming right up, Tim. Thank you for the compliments as well. I'm feeling good, actually, today. Much better than I expected to be. And Rick Johnson is saying, good afternoon from San Francisco, Roy, and my Cask Strength barfly friends. Good to have you in, Rick. Hope Catherine's doing well, too. Always nice to see you, fella. It's right in the middle of your day, isn't it? But you're still here. George P. is saying, evening, barflies, evening, Roy. We'll have to catch this one on replay. Have a great evening, George. I look forward to welcoming you back on the replay. And in fact, George, now that you're back on the replay, tongue twisters tonight. I hope you're sitting someplace comfortable and you've got something nice in the glass. Cheers, George. James DeGiulio, he's celebrating being a barfly for 34 months and saying, Merry Christmas, my virtual malt, on the way to his own personal warehouse. I don't doubt for a second, James. Good to have you in, buddy, and thanks for supporting us a barfly. Lowlander Scotland is saying, evening, Aquaviti. He's saying hello to everyone. Nice to have you in, Lowlander. Too Slow Rob is saying, hi, Roy, and all the barflies. Fantastic, Rob. Good to see you, my friend. Willie Dolly is in saying, good evening. Hope all this week is going better. It is, Willie. It certainly is. Henrik Schmidt is in. Heinrich, just as the chat jumps. Hopefully I don't need to go up too far to catch you, buddy. Oh, there's lots of chitty chat going on. I think I'm quite a wee bit behind. I better get catching up. Sorry, Henrik. I hope I get a chance to catch up with you a wee bit later. I obviously scrolled too far back, touched the chat, skipped away to the front. I've had a dram from Dorpass Whiskey from my pal Tim. He's saying, already thinking about what I'll put in next year's homemade advent calendar after this year's was destroyed by contaminated caps. Oh no, Laddie 18 going now. I hope you didn't destroy too much whiskey. I hope you didn't destroy too much of your Laddie 18. It's a fantastic whiskey. Sorry to hear that. Lesson learned, right, Tim? Alistair Gray's saying that's frustrating that bottle wasn't dispatched till today. Mail marketing are usually pretty good. Well, they weren't good on this occasion, Alistair. It's interesting that you know exactly the bottle I'm talking about, and it's not going to feature tonight. It was a bottle that you actually put me onto, Alistair. Whiskey with Molly saying, good evening, Roy Aquaviti. Good evening, Whisky folk. Excited for Kendal Whisky Festival tomorrow. Exciting times, right enough, is everyone getting the train down to Kendal tomorrow, or up to Kendal, I imagine, for a lot of you. Maybe for some of you across to Kendal too. Kendal's typically the last whisky festival of the year. Everybody kind of hangs up their festival jackets and boots and lanyards and Glencairns after the Kendal festival. I would love to make it one year, I really would. Bruce Bernard is celebrating being a member of Barflies for 46 months and saying my dad would have 100 today, Friday. Bless you, Bruce, and bless your dad too, fella. It's nice to have you in here thinking about him. Lachlan McKenzie saying, good evening, Roy Aquaviti. Nice to have you, Lachlan, as always. And Jimmy Legs bought me a dram. Thank you, Jimmy, to say thanks for all your patience with my shenanigans. I promise not to ask you any more questions for at least 8 more years. Jimmy, it's been absolutely fine. There's been a hell of a lot of questions coming in over the last week or so. So once you get into the zone, the mindset of just bang, bang, answer lots of questions, it doesn't really, it's been pretty easy. It's been really quite easy. Everybody's been super understanding. Drew from Arizona saying, actually just popping in for a few before meeting up with Whiskey and Wine Trails Tom in about an hour. Good for you two. That's fantastic. 2 of the Arizona boys hooking up together. Say hello to Tom for me, Drew, and it's nice to have you in briefly, fella. Do the quote. That's Mike saying, got my bottle today, but no worries about bottle shock. We'll need a very special occasion to open it up. It's really interesting. I was sure that the virtual malt, I'll just show everyone this here. I'll show you the open bottle. It's just as nice, right? I was pretty sure that a lot of people would be keeping this locked up and sealed as a kind of souvenir bottle because of what it represents, just how much it represents us and everything that we've built as a community with the kind of virtual 1920s vPub scene here and all these kind of undisclosed characters and things on the label. I was convinced that this would be one of those bottles that would just kind of languish and nobody would be opening it up and drinking it. And I felt that was a shame because it's such a silky, rich, old school sherry. Sherried whiskey, and you know, I was a little kind of torn with that concept that what we've got here is maybe something that people will be precious about. But what I'm discovering is that people can't wait to open it, and the feedback I'm getting is people are just going to rinse it and drink the whiskey, but save the bottle and save the label, which of course makes perfect sense, and then it can become a feature bottle, an infinity blend, a blend of the Barflies whiskies, and all of these ideas are flying about, which is really quite nice. And it means that the whiskey is going to get enjoyed. Good to have you in, Mike. Papa Q is saying hello, Roy. Go home and Sanic Cask Strength in a Glencairn tonight. Nice to have you on theme, Papa Q, and it's nice to have you in. And Sandro Fasolari is saying, ciao, Roy. Ciao, everyone. Had the pleasure of having a dram with Road to Dram Alberto in Milan with Connell and Antonia from Ardnamurchan, which is what is in my glass. The AD Ardnamurchan Slancher. Well, Sandro, I can tell you that I'm desperate to get to the Milan Festival one year. I had the pleasure of working I was regularly there. My head office was in Milan for a number of years, and I have very fond memories of the city. I need to get over to the festival one year. Chat's just jumped down to the bottom. I've missed a lot of you. I'm sorry, I did it again. I'll just scroll up a wee bit to finish off. Kerben is saying, I'll open it for sure. Every day is a special day, so no closed bottles. Perfect outlook, my friend. Black Fen is saying, I opened my bottle yesterday, just poured a dram to sup while watching tonight. Buddy, I hope you're enjoying it. Let us know how you're getting on with it. Rob is saying, no, lock it up. Not at all, Rob, not at all. Whiskey with Molly is saying, I haven't even bought a bottle yet as I'm not a guardian yet, so no code. Oh, don't worry about it, Ben. There are plenty of these bottles. I'm going to spend a minute talking about the rollout of these bottles, how we're managing it, and how this is more than any other release I've released. These bottles have to get into the hands of the right people. It would have been a very, very easy process to do that had it not been for the recent decisions I've made to switch my support from Patreon to elsewhere. But we'll wrap it all up into the same discussion. Jean Kelly is saying, my virtual malt was due to be delivered on Monday. Surprise, such a quick delivery. We'll open it in next week's vPub. Fantastic, Jean. It's great that it's making its way to you so quickly, buddy. Paul Iberson is saying, no way, got to be open. Vine arrived a day ago. I've had the neck and it's very nice already and it will get better. I know. I think it's just going to be a perfect wintertime seasonal accompaniment. I really do. Sandro is saying, great, fantastic, Sandro. And Jeff is saying, good to have you in, Jeff. He's saying, aquavite and you wonderful flies. We are barflies, big guy. Barflies. Pedro is saying, evening barflies and aquavite. Pedro from Brazil, good to have you in, my friend. And Jimmy Legg is saying, I'll probably use that bottle as a decanter for many whiskies in the future. I'll be showing off with that for many years. And Highland Hamish is saying, greetings from Inverness. Fantastic, guys. Fantastic. Peter Lee saying, good evening from Kwang Tung. And Peterhead is in. Of course you are, Pete. He's saying, on theme as well, but independent as usual, aquavite, independently bottled, generic in the glass. Peter and Petehead, good to have you both in. As I said, I have a few Cask Strength bottles to share with you. No problem. There's always plenty Cask Strength whiskey on the go here. And it's difficult to remember that this is actually the fifth Cask Strength session we've had. 2021, we started doing wintertime Cask Strength vPubs. And I think it was originally inspired by the Bunnahabhain 12-year-old Cask Strength. And maybe I think Ardnamurchan's Cask Strength release as well. I may not be remembering perfectly, but I think the both of those. So we dedicated an official core range Cask Strength vPub to those. But it's been amazing how many expressions we've been able to cover over the years. And then tonight I was looking to have about maybe 4 or 5 again. Interesting ones tonight. But as we've already mentioned, I ordered, based on Alistair Gray bringing it to my attention. It's always a bi-directional thing, this. I ordered the Tullibardine Cask Strength official release that's just been launched. Now, those of you that have orbited around Tullibardine in the past, there's a few expressions with higher ABV, the Murray, for example, and things. But generally speaking, they tend to be low ABV. Their market is focused on such a thing, and I think that that's what they go for. So it means that it can be hard for us to have an official representation of what their distillery actually makes. But then releasing a Cask Strength version, that's quite interesting to me. So I purchased it on the weekend, and I hoped that they would ship Monday, maybe Tuesday, and it would get here for this week's Cask Strength vPub. But they didn't ship it until today. I don't know why it takes 4 days to pack up a bottle of whiskey. Maybe it's just a part-time thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the issue is there, but it's a wee bit of a shame. It's not going to feature tonight. I simply can't feature it. I don't have it. So that's okay, as it turns out, because I've got some stragglers here that I want to share with you before we finish the year. Things that have been sitting off to the side, waiting for a moment. And I've also got a theme tonight an unintentional theme, Cask Strength or not. And it's a theme about value, it's a theme about pricing, and it's a theme about all the Black Friday deals that's pretty hard to resist, right? Bruno Martins is celebrating being a member of Barflies for 66 months, saying Cask Strength is really my theme. Great theme. Fantastic, Bruno. Wonderful to have you here all the way from Portugal, buddy. Chuck Saberhagen has just joined the Barflies. Chuck, thank you so much for signing up and supporting us. By signing up to become a YouTube member here, everyone's keeping all the content on YouTube from Aquavite absolutely ad-free. I get as much funds from you guys than I ever had in terms of ad revenue split from Google. I'll never go back. Thank you so much. Nice to have you in. And Stevie O has just sent out 20 gift memberships to 20 random watchers tonight. Thank you, Steve, for your generosity. And Dave Hong has bought us a dram as well. No comment is normal, Dave. Nice to have you in. It's David Hong, isn't it? Dave Hong, New York. Yeah, that's David Hong, isn't it? Fantastic to have you, and thanks for your generosity. Stephen Toth from Canada, he's saying, I haven't been live lately, but catch up on all the replays. Lots going on. Thank you for your thoughtfulness this week and helping me hopefully receive the mail. I truly appreciate it. No problem, Stephen, and I'm going to talk about that. If anybody's having problems with anything, they can reach out to me, and hopefully we can get the resolutions sorted. Anyway, what's in the glass tonight? A lovely wee dram. That's what it is. It's very pale. Can you see how pale it is? Don't let that put you off one little bit. We've got a whiskey from Arguably, you could say, over the last 20 years, the most improved distillery in Scotland. It was always a wee bit of a cult distillery. Certainly, as long as I've been into whiskey, there was a wee bit of a cult following here. But when I got into whiskey, one release was sublime and the next one was pretty terrible. And they had this kind of up and down reputation. And I think that was largely based on what they were trying to do with the stocks that they inherited. I'm over on Islay, and I'm of course talking about the super popular, well-loved Laddie. I realise just how blue my camera is in its hues. This is a slightly greener bottle than it's shown up on my screen here tonight. But you can see this is the classic Laddie, 50% ABV. I've clearly been enjoying this because you can't really see the level in a bottle, but you can feel the level, believe me. And it's sitting about a third of the way down. I think I've had this on the shelf for about a year, 18 months, something like that. So I'm managing to get through it, sharing it with folk who just want something light and unpeated, of course. But at 50% ABV, there's a lot of heft there. There's a lot of ABV. There's a lot of integrity and flavour in the bottle at 50% bottling strength, which is really quite good. I always feel that this operates best. Most whiskies do better with a wee drop of water, in my opinion. A lot of them don't really change much, or they can lose a little bit, but it's rare. Most higher strength whiskies at this age tend to improve just by getting that chemical reaction in the glass that can happen with a few drops of water. I just use a wee water dropper like this. You can use a teaspoon, you can use your fingers, use a straw, or whatever you want to do, just to kind of play and footer, and you sometimes get a lot more flavour, a lot more fruit, a lot more spice, a lot more top notes and things like that when you cut it just with a wee bit of water. But this is perfectly delicious, sipping neat. However, I have replaced this bottle already when there's still a third left in it. Why is that? I'll show you. Here we have the replacement bottle. Let's try and get the same aspect to the screen. You can see identical. One is sealed and the other one is still open. Now, if I turn these around, try not to drop them, I'll ask you to play a wee game of spot the difference. And you can see, obviously, this one on the left-hand side has got a 10-year age statement. So classic Laddie, once upon a time, had an age statement. We've had 8-year-old age statements on classic Laddie. We've had 10-year-old age statements on it. But it would seem now in 2025, they're at a stage, they're at a level where they can go back out there and they can put an age statement back on the bottle again. Still at 50% ABV. Now, that's a good enough reason for me to buy this bottle and pick it up and open it with you guys before we get into the more kind of crunchy housekeeping topics, right? I know a lot of you are going to want to know what's been going on with this whole Guardians thing and what's been happening with Patreon and what's all the controversy about. There is no controversy. There's no controversy. It's just me taking my own decisions is all. Let's get this. It's superb. Into the glass alongside its sibling. And we can have a wee comparison side by side. Quite a few whiskies to get through tonight, some of them Cask Strength. So I'm just pouring tiny amounts, as you can see. This is the new one. I have to be honest, you might not see that on camera, but the original one is maybe just one touch paler, and this one is actually a wee bit darker. I don't think you can pick that up on camera at all. But if you hold it up against white paper, there's a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of colour change. Nothing to trouble us at all, though. Fantastic. The new one's much quieter. It's freshly opened, neck pour. We'll let it relax a wee bit. This hasn't been cut with any water. This one has. Laddie always reminds me, there's a nice, really nice kind of beeswax honeycomb type vibe on the nose here tonight. It's the first dram I've had since I think Sunday night. I've just been busy. I've been elsewhere, so I found myself as I was pouring this tonight really back in the mood for a wee sip of whiskey tonight. So I don't know how I'm going to get along with it, but we can start a wee bit lower on ABV tonight with these ones. This one's the one that's got the honey. I think it's a floral thing that's drawn me there, drawn me close to that kind of. It's quite sweet, light honey, runny honey, but that kind of honeycomb beeswax type thing. Lots of top notes, lots of floral notes. And behind it all, there's a kind of creamy, malty backbone. We used to look for something quite lactic in Laddie, and you can still find it. On certain expressions, it's still there, but I think if I was going to want to bring out any kind of lactic notes on this one, I would have to be sipping it in contrast with something else in order to bring that out. I'm not getting that at all on this. In fact, it's a very clean, sweet, delicate, well-balanced whiskey. Let's have a wee sip of the new one. Let's go backwards and forwards, actually. A wee bit of water in that, as I say. Should have maybe tried them neat side by side. What are we looking for here? Are we looking for anything, any extra maturity, any more age or whatever? I don't think so, not really. It was widely accepted that Laddie, classic Laddie, was 7, 8, 9 years old anyway, and occasionally 10-year-old stock in there. Yeah, this is quiet. Probably needs a wee bit of time in the glass. Let's have a sip neat. Very similar. Very similar. We want more spice towards the end. I think what we'll do is we'll just cut this a wee bit, just add a wee bit of water to try and bring them about the same. Very, very similar. If we're finding anything a touch kind of richer here, just a nudge more kind of cask influence, sweetness, that could easily be just by the power of suggestion, right? I'm not sure I could tell these apart right now, sipping them side by side. Very similar. Oh. I take that back. I think the newer one has got just a wee touch more. It's going to be interesting to see how things happen. It's the neck pour. You can never judge by the neck pour, right? It's only a first impression. It's like a first date, right? But on first approach, on first blush, this is a wee bit quieter, certainly on the nose and everything. But there's maybe a wee bit more oak spice, a wee bit more oak interaction, a slight touch more richness. But really, if you were sipping them side by side, you might have a good chance of telling them apart. I think so. But if you were handed it in isolation and asked to choose which one you were sipping, I'm not so confident. So I guess that's a nod in the direction of consistency there. Fantastic, very, very easy to enjoy, high quality, pure, balanced, clean whiskey, and nothing like anything else that comes from Islay. You can't even compare this to the Bunnhabhains and things, the unpeated stuff from Bunnahabhain. Really, when it comes to Islay, this is a unique little product, and it's loved the world over. Let's talk about value. $50 ABV, fully natural whiskey, now with an age statement on it. Typically about £50 to £55 retail, sometimes a wee bit less than that in the 40s. Nothing to argue with on the value front. Beautiful, high integrity, pure, clean, very, very unique single malt Scotch whiskey. However, the reason I have a second bottle with a 10-year age statement on it is that I succumbed in the Black Friday email deluge. and I was offered this particular bottle at £32.90. Now, I hope even the most frugal among us would agree that probably £32.90 is a bit too cheap for whiskey of this quality. It's just the way the world that we're living in right now. There are some really, really crazy, deeply discounted whiskies flying around at the minute. It can be very, very difficult to say no to these things. I know that we can all talk about ethics. We can all talk about supporting your local retailer, supporting the brands that kept their prices fair when things were crazy and all of that stuff. And I think we should try to follow that as much as possible. But listen, no one will judge you if you go off and spend less pounds picking up some of these fantastic deals. That's what they're designed for. And not everyone has the money and the luxury to make decisions based fully on ethics. Nobody's going to judge you for picking up a cheap bottle. I couldn't help myself. I mean, there was other things I wanted to buy at the same time as well, sure, and it was there. It was, but £32.90 I feel is a bit too cheap. That said, we were already happy with Bruichladdie's Classic Laddie. It's made it into the OSWA nominations in the past, and it will in the future, I'm sure. But now it's coming with a 10-year age statement on it. Yet another example of how whiskey is coming back to us. Jimmy, like I was saying, I'll never understand anyone saying that whiskey is too cheap. I want whiskey to be around. I want it to endure. I want it to be healthy. And if it's sold, if the best of whiskey that costs more expensive to make is sold too cheaply, I think it puts it at risk. But then again, people like you need to be around. Jimmy, I may be tenderized to the fact that maybe loads of people can make lots of money on 10-year-old whiskey at £33 a bottle, but I don't think so. Certainly not in the UK with the taxes and duties that we pay. Tim is saying, I'm sure there's a lot of non-age statement Laddie stock sitting in the US, so hoping the 10-year makes it over here soon. It's going to take a long time for that stuff to bleed out, isn't it, and get used up. And I think it must be tricky to introduce a 10-year age statement onto the market when there's a lot of stock already there. It can be tricky to handle it. So I think it's not been with a lot of fanfare or anything. It's just got a little 10-year age statement on there. And Peter Lee is saying, I love Cask Strength Whiskey Aquavitae. I better get onto it soon. Listen, first, I'm going to talk about a couple of things. I'm going to talk about the virtual malt and how that's going, okay? And I'm going to talk about how that is directly affected by decisions I made 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think everyone is aware now. Most of the community is aware now. But there's 333 of you in watching. It's climbing a wee bit now. So I've tried really, really hard to communicate as best I possibly can to be clear. Patreon are not after me. I haven't had any strikes or warnings. I haven't had any cancellations, and I have not cancelled my Patreon. Nothing like that has happened. What has happened is that Patreon started to look. For details I won't go into tonight. I've for a long time felt that I'm a bit fed up with a lot of the antics of Patreon. Their language, the way they went around connecting with people, the way they went around their business, the way they forced certain things on me, including user interfaces and payment transactions and things like that I felt were either not fit for purpose or really inflexible. But these are not deal breakers. I just went on and was working away quite fine. I'd spent 8 years building a Patreon community. 8 years. Then, after multiple things that threatened to hurt me or directly hurt me in 2025, there was word started to come from the US that they started to cancel accounts and send warnings out to accounts for having whiskey-related content, for linking to places where people could buy whiskey, for promoting whiskey sales, all that type of thing. It's almost like we're back in the temperance days of censorship, right? It's just wild. And I understand that some countries have different age, minimum age for consumption of alcohol. In the UK and Europe, it tends to be 18. In the States, it's 21. I understand all of these things, but babies are being thrown out with bathwater here. More than anything, there was a specific channel, and you can go and watch Bourbon Hunter. a very recent video that went out 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he just lays it all bare exactly what happened to him. And they closed his account down, locked him out of his account, locked him out of his community. It kept his money and gave him no course of appeal. Just at that point, thank you, Hunter. Thank you for sharing this video. Thank you for pointing it out. This is a flag so red, so scarlet, that for me not to take action would be lazy and dangerous. This thing I've been building over the last 8 years, 9 years for the channel, but 8 years for the vPub, it's built my community and it's built me a living. It's given birth to lots of other projects through that, Online Scotch Whisky Awards, Dramface, various other projects. I'm not ready to throw this away yet. I love the thing. I need to protect it. So I made the decision there and then I was going to find another route out of this. And I built my own platform, and it's at aquavitae.com, and you can sign up through a monthly subscription service. It's very clean, much easier. I get a bigger cut of the money. The fees are much smaller. Everything's cleaner for you. What you sign up to, what you subscribe is the only thing you pay. You're not getting hit with taxes and charges and everything on top. It's much, much cleaner and easier. There's difficulty in the transition between the two. Of course there is, because I'm moving from a per creation model to a per month model. It's different, but I've tried very hard to hold hands all the way. And I want to say thank you to so many of you that have stepped up and said, yeah, where do we need to go? We'll follow. So taking extra action, signing up for new platforms, and just doing this thing in order to follow me is just, I'll never ever tire of saying thank you for the support and thank you for following me. It means so much. Where I was nervous and I was looking, I felt like it was an abyss. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff. And I knew that messaging like this everybody would start to leave Patreon, and that's exactly what's happened. And it's heartbreaking to see that number just dissolve, just crumble and disappear, and just people leaving in droves. But then you look at the new platform, the Guardians platform at aquavitae.com, and it's just blossoming. And on the back of that, I have the flexibility to do whatever I want with that platform. So all these things I talked about, not fit for purpose, terrible user interface and all that type of thing, I've got the ability to change that on the new platform. So we've already got a blog in place, just like the Patreon feed. I keep you up to date with weekly vPubs, product releases, events, whatever's going on in my mind, that type of thing. That's just so the people that want to just follow in a passive sense can just do that. I'm going to take it further. There's going to be a social platform built in there so that everyone can speak to each other. Everyone can keep up to date. They can have a direct link with me. They can speak to me directly while they're in that space. Everything is spoken about and everything is up to us. There'll be a mobile app to support it so that you can get push notifications. You can control those notifications if you want, so you can be absolutely as interactive and as connected as you want to be, or you can just make it a passive, relaxed, on the sofa at the end of the night type thing. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to try and build that platform, and we're 80% of the way there, to such an extent that not only will you not miss Patreon anymore, but you'll actively appreciate that the new platform is much, much better. That's the goal. On the social side of it, the social platform, the upgrades, if you like, we're not there yet, but 1 or 2 more days of building and structuring it properly, I'll be able to do a massive onboarding of all the members and send out invites to everyone to get involved in that. It's like the mist has been lifted. Everything is clear to me now. Everything that was missing in Patreon is now accessible to me and possible on the horizon. Everything is better. Everything is cleaner. But the biggest thing, I don't suddenly feel the threat of my livelihood, of my journey, my route going forward, being in the hands of some random corporate entity that can just switch it off. That's gone now. Yeah, okay, there's payment gateways and there's issues with that. And of course, I'm building a website on a platform that doesn't belong to me, and I've got that to go through as well. But these are different setups. These are different things. Hopefully, we have a new, much cleaner vision going forward. Now, what has that meant for the outturn of the virtual malt? All that upheaval where I'm trying to migrate everyone from one platform onto the other platform. I have to do that because one of the biggest deal breakers with Patreon is I can't promote whiskey. I can't share codes with you. I can't even put a link in there to tell you where to buy that in Patreon. It is ended. It's literally been switched off. So what do? I have to do it through the new platform. But people have been signing up since the start of the week. In fact, there were early adopters that jumped in early in November and started signing up as soon as the thing went live. I'm releasing codes to them day by day as they join. In the past, it's been tier to tier to tier, but everybody's coming in at different tiers at different times, and they're all getting codes depending on when they sign up. I can't share any codes on Patreon. Everything has to be through aquaviti.com, through the Guardian's sign-up page. When you sign up, depending on when you sign up in the day, if you sign up in the morning, you might get the code in the afternoon. But if you sign up in the afternoon, it's probably going to be the next day. But the codes are being sent out in the afternoon each day, usually somewhere between 12 and 2 p.m. Can I just reassure everyone now that because of all of the upheaval, everyone that's signing up, that's getting a code, almost to 70-80% of you I recognize. We've had direct discussions before. This bottle is landing in the right hands. Right now, every person gets a code to buy one bottle, and they go and they buy their one bottle. They can only buy one bottle from Royal Mile Whiskies. That's just to manage, that make sure that everyone gets it. By the end of this week, maybe Monday next week latest, the codes will be finished. Everyone that's getting a code will have had their code. At that point, I'll still preserve and prioritize my Guardians. It'll change to a password setup, and it'll change to 2 bottles per. So at that point, everyone will know when it goes live what the password is. They can buy more if they want to buy more. So they can open it and drink it and keep some as backups, because this is a genuine souvenir bottle, as we've discussed. It's not an inexpensive bottle. It's 17-year-old Speyside single malt, £155. But some of you want more. Some of you want additional bottles. I will look after those of you that do. Then, after that, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere around that point next week, when everyone's had their chance to grab the bottle, and it's been on sale for about 10 days to the people that look after me, my Guardians, at that point, I'll start to share it with YouTube members, Barfly community on Facebook, and open it up to everyone so that they can all get it. This will make it to public sale. I'm very, very confident that that's going to happen. So those of you that are panicking about getting their code or getting their bottle, please let me try and do as much as I can. I cannot guarantee that everybody that wants a bottle will get a bottle. But if you're here, if you're active, if you're connected, if you're involved during this period, this window of time, you can get in touch with me directly if there's something happened, if the email's gone missing, if it's gone into your spam folder, if it's fallen into the ether, and I'll resend your code or give you a new code, whatever's appropriate. I'll try to make sure that everyone that wants a bottle of this will get it. This one is for us more than any other release that there's ever been. I hope I'm clear. I've written on Patreon. I've written on the Barflies page. I've written on the Guardian's blog post. There's a Claxon blog that goes out there. Every week I'll be posting in there, whether it's about a vPub release, whether it's about what I'm thinking about, what I'm getting up to, whether it's about events, bottle releases. I'll be posting through that blog, and it's shared directly with all the members, all the Guardians. That's where to keep up to date with me. Once the social platform is built, we will be back in a situation where there'll be a direct messaging system in place, I hope, as well, so that everybody can send me direct messages to work out what's happening. We are there. By this time next week, certainly within the next 2 weeks, I think we'll be close to 98-99% of the way there, and we'll have a fully functioning platform. Thanks to you. Thank you all. Sincerely, thank you. Okay. London is saying the forum is a welcome addition, especially for those of us who don't use Facebook. Absolutely. We've got a kind of circa 2005, 2010 forum. experiment going on there, but I think we've found a better solution, Lowlander. I really do think we've found it. Welsh Toro's in tonight. Fantastic buddy saying, hi guys, I really needed to be a part of my whiskey family. My cat has been fighting for its life for weeks, but finally lost the battle today. I'm heartbroken. Just seeing my whiskey chums helps. A few years ago, I went through the same thing. And a few years I went through the same thing with a cat that was so close to me, Welsh, that it was like a human. It was like a friend. To some people, it's a cat. To us, it's literally a member of the family. I'm sorry to hear, my friend. We're all here for you. We are your whiskey chums, Welsh. Nice to have you in, friend. Cheers, buddy. Danny Heventon is saying, you're doing a sterling job, mate. The tier's choice should fit all budgets, and the forum is an excellent decision. I've interacted more in the last couple of days than I did in 4 years of Patreon. That means a lot, Danny, and I think what's coming out of the woodwork now is a lot of people were holding off to support me because of Patreon, and the first thing is a big surprise to me. And the second thing is that just how bad the user experience was as a supporter and not just as a creator. Ian Bruce is saying, boldly going where no whiskey community has gone before. Well done, Roy, for this fantastic work to move platforms. Thank you, Ian. I think everyone's going to enjoy the progress that we make. I don't want to make too many promises before it's all out there and fully formed, but I'm feeling more confident than I've felt in the past. We're almost there. We're almost there. Okay, good stuff. Let me just check that I'm not missing too much. Bobby K, I'm not sure who that is, Bobby K. All the YouTube handles have been changed again. They do an upgrade and they change something, and all the YouTube handles, your usernames on YouTube change. But if you want to change that, it's dead easy. You just click on your name or your icon, takes you back to your own channel page, and up in the top right, you've got all the ability to go in and edit everything, edit your icon, edit what people know you as, and that type of thing. Thanks, Roy, and thanks everyone, says Welsh. You're very welcome, buddy. Yeah, I hope you're doing okay. Okay, we've talked about Brook Laddie. We're still not ready to go on to the Cask Strength drams yet. I think one more dram before we move on to Cask Strength. Would that be okay? Because I think this is one, I've had it here for over a month, I think, and it's just been sitting here waiting. I'm a wee bit worried that I take this tin lid off and it's a completely different bottle that's inside this tube. This is the first time it's been opened. This is, of course, you can tell by the tube, a bottle from Lochranza. This is a bottle of Arran, specifically a 10-year-old Arran. But this is their version of local barley. You might want to consider this. They're calling this Arran Barley. There's lots of cool specs on this. 18,000 bottles globally, which is fantastic. The barley type that they're using in this specific bottling is Optic. There's Braille on the label as well, like all Arran bottles. 10-year-old age statement, fantastic. Non-chill filtered, natural colour, and big letters. I mean, you know, the tertiary scale font on this is natural chill filtered. That's those statements you can see here. Look. Fantastic presentation. Nice little kind of barley artwork going on in there with the eagles floating over the top of it. You know, a nice looking take on Arran's standard branding. It stands out. It's quite different, but it's still very much part of the stable. A lot of you were talking about this when it landed. Before anyone tried it, I do have my knife. Before anyone had tried it, and then people started to try it, and the reviews remained pretty. People's moods stayed pretty high on it. So it seems like this one's gone down quite well. Because I have to be honest, I love Arran's 10-year-old. I really do. But I don't know if you feel the same as me, that sometimes it's a little bit too much of a beautiful, sweet, easy drinking crowd pleaser. And I'm not suggesting that it's simple. I'm not suggesting that it's anything. I don't want to be negative about it at all. But I think sometimes, for me, it's just got a touch too much of the bourbon cask influence in there, depending on my mood. I would like to see the 10-year-old maybe having a little bit more of a refill in the mix as well. Maybe that's what will happen when we eventually see the 14-year-old finally make it back out again, that we'll see some refill cask there in the mix. I don't know. I just don't know what's happening there. Supposedly 2026, right? But anyway, let's get this 10-year-old Arran Barley uncorked. It's been waiting a little while, and we know Arran bottles don't give us a glug, but we'll try it. Stealth pour out the rounded shoulders, right? So we can add our own sound effects. 10 years old, and the same ABV as those Bruichladdis that we were just sipping, 50% ABV. So nice, robust strength on this one. Let's have a wee nose. Okay. Just off the back, quite a light Bruichladdis. This is immediately much more bold. Yeah, this is quite light linen outdoors, kind of cool breeze about it, the Bruichladdis, but this one, there's warmer tones here, more kind of earthy tones, a richness. The style, the profile, the character, you would have to say, is quite similar to the Bruichladdis. So we've got a clean, unpeated, I wouldn't say coastal style, but it's got a wee bit of an outdoor element. So there's a wee bit of kind of saltiness, a wee bit of mineralic quality. A wee bit, yeah, like an outdoor breeze, that type of thing. A cool side to it. But there's a warmth, there's a wee bit of a leaf mulch here, like earthy, warm tones. But very similar to Bruichladdis, the backbone is malt. Like a malted drink. If you've ever picked up grain from the malting floor or just a handful of malted barley and just kind of chewed on it for a little bit, you might get a sense of what I'm speaking about. Some orchard fruit, some light citrus. Not bad for a neck pour, quite expressive. Cheers, everyone. What you cannot get nosing it, no idea, you get when you have a sip, and it's texture, mouthfeel. There's a little bit of spice and heat here. The ABV, the 50% ABV is helping this a lot. This is much more rounded and gloopy and thicker than what you might expect for an Arran. Yeah, a lovely oily quality. It almost adds a kind of silkiness to it, to the experience. I suspect I'm going to be able to sip through this at 50%, no problem, without reaching for the water in the first pour. There's a nice dry acidity to it as well. The finish is fairly short to medium on the finish, but there's a dry acidic edge to things as it finishes, which is something I like. It can be a wee bit off-putting if you feel like it's a kind of green oak note, but sometimes that dry acidic edge can come across a wee bit like this, like almost like green olives. The texture is fantastic. The texture is fantastic. And that oiliness, you know, the ABV doesn't come across as a hot spike. The ABV comes across as a nice spice. It's like the oiliness, the texture is kind of smothering the higher strength alcohol and just kind of holding it in place. You know, that way that sometimes when you add water into a drink, you can actually see a spike in the heat from it. This is really high quality liquid, clearly. Oh, that's going to get thumped over Christmas. I can tell right away. You know, when you really want something that kind of clings, Cask Strength whiskies are brilliant for that. This is not Cask Strength. Cask Strength whiskies are brilliant for that. They hang on the palate. You're kind of licking it off your teeth and that type of thing. But it takes quite a bit of investment because you're sitting there with a Cask Strength whiskey. So it's half sip, half sip, half sip. This has got that ability to, this is completely drinkable at 50% ABV. But because it's clinging to your palate, it's just, I mean, I'm still tasting it now, and it's not because of a very long finish. It's because it's still there. It's physically still on my palate. But that dry, acidic finish means that it's moreish. Look at this. I know I only poured about, 1.5 CLs or something. Maybe just 1 CL, but it's gone. It's almost gone. More and more producers are focusing on texture and body and mouthfeel. And wow, what a difference it makes to the experience. It's not just about taste. It's not just about flavor. It's the feeling of consumption. It's fantastic. Have you guys been sipping this? How many of you have had your head around this? Ian is saying, bold to go. I picked that one up, didn't I? I can scroll down a wee bit from that. Pedro in Brazil saying, leave now for a Brazilian whiskey tasting. I wonder what a Brazilian whiskey tasting's like. Sounds pretty exciting, doesn't it? And we'll catch up and replay soon. See you next week, Barflies and Aquavitae. Jimmy Legg is saying, cheer on Barley from the Malt floor at Springbank is one of life's great gifts. Aquavitae it is, and I'm glad you've been able to do it. Lassie or Oatsman is celebrating being a Barfly for 60 months and evening all late in from a Radiohead concert. Fantastic. Pull up a wee chair, pour something in Cask Strength and decompress. I hope you had a fantastic time. Kyle Taylor is saying, I went for the Morrisons. I went from the Morrisons in Stirling to the Woodwinters in Bridge of Allen today. Supermarket, 10-year for £33. Speciality store, £53 for the NAS Aquavitae. I know it can be difficult, Kyle, right? It can just be tricky. And Jimmy Legg is saying, you leave the Arran alone over Christmas. No thumping. I did say it was going to get thumped, didn't I? Paul Iverson is saying, I'm on the Carnmore, Clyneleash 14, just opened to. I think you'd like this one. I don't think there'd be any doubt about that. Brian Stormont is saying, drinking this with you, it's dialed up, double dialed up. I agree with all your notes, pretty much what I jotted down for the review I wrote today, says Brian Stormont. It's superb and the story is fantastic. It's superb that you're sipping it along with me, Brian. That's amazing. Master Chiefs Sea Chest, that's Mark Hackler. Good to see you. Nice neck pour glug sound effect. That's right. Well practiced over my 20 years of whiskey. Nick Keenison, good to see you, Nick. Celebrating being a member for 56 months, all the way from New Zealand. He's saying, I'm waiting for the Guardian's merch shop to open. Yeah, it's an inevitability that we're going to brand it, right, Nick? Guardians. I felt it was quite a grandiose name. I felt it was quite, but I've settled with it very, very quickly, and there is a story and a reason behind it, right? So hopefully you guys are getting on board with it as well. Agree on Malt James in Sweden is saying, Aquavitae, picked up an Arran Barley on my trip, enjoying it nicely. Feels like a steal for the price. I have to say it was a good price, 60 quid. I think it was 60 quid. Would that be right, James? Is that what you paid? Whiskey with Molly saying, Chorlton, Balblair, 16-year-old, 55.8% in the glass. You would love this Aquavitae. I think I would, Ben. Especially if you and I were being able to sit somewhere and sip it together. That would make it even better, right? Doodle Drama is saying, it's taken a lot of willpower not to open that virtual malt that's staring over the room at me from behind the Christmas tree. Arnie, please, just open it. Buddy, it's only whiskey. And there's millions of folk around you that's going to have more. If you really need another bottle, you're going to get another bottle, Arnie. Don't worry. Enjoy it. Enjoy the thing. Enjoy it. I think it's time that we got our Cask Strength fix on tonight. After all, it's supposed to be the Cask Strength vPub. It's taken me an hour before we get there. I don't know where to start tonight. I'm going to talk about pricing, But I'm going to open another 2 bottles with you, both Cask Strength bottles. One of them's a comparison, and the other one is on its own. And I suspect the style of it is going to be more in fitting. I'm going to need to just keep track of these glasses that I've got in front of me. I'm going to put my Brook Laddies down and off to the side. It's easy to keep track of my Arran glass because I've absolutely demolished it. That was a delicious, delicious dram. That's an easy recommend right there. It's just a brilliantly executed whiskey. Really keen. It's not very often that I take a first neck pour out of a bottle, and I'm keen, looking forward to the second pour already, but that's absolutely the case with that one. A belter. We're only 1 hour in. No need to start so early, Akaviti. You're in for the night, Frank, aren't you? I'm going to share with you a bottle that mixes up the topics I've been speaking about tonight, and that is the fact that we're all being deluged by these super exciting offers and things, these deep cut discounted whiskies that I've largely been ignoring and managing to navigate my way past. I have to look after the funds and buy the whiskies that I think are going to be appropriate for the content that I produce. These days, there's very, very little I'm buying just to indulge myself on the side. But that's okay, because most of the stuff I'm buying for the vPub, for the content, is cracking stuff as well. However, I am just as weak as anyone, and when a real bargain comes along, you're like, okay, that's too good to miss. What? How many? 17 hours left of this deal, and then it's gone. Okay. Sometimes we've decided to extend by another 24 hours and nonsense like that. But I think most of the time on whiskey, these deals do tend to end when they say they're going to end. So last week I said, that would be a good one to substitute in for the Cask Strength vPub. So when this one came up, I put it in the basket and I bought it. And it's for a few reasons. The price was too good to ignore. It's from a distillery that the official bottlings you can't even find anymore. They do exist, but they exist in such small quantities that they are almost an afterthought by the king of afterthought single malt distillery ownership, and that is Chivas Brothers, Pernod Ricard. But this is a 15-year-old age statement. This is at Cask Strength, 60.3% Cask Strength. As I say, 15 years old. There's a 2007 vintage edition. This is strange, right? 2007 plus 15. So this has maybe been around and on the market for quite a while. But I suspect the reason that it's still languishing about is because it's far too expensive. But there's a date code on the back that says August 24. Okay, I suppose that could be. Oh, it can't. It can't. 2023, you could understand it being on there and 15 years old. Doesn't matter. This was bottled in 2024. It might not be, but they are putting a vintage on it. 2007 vintage, regardless. This is an official Strathisla. An official 70 CL. This is not the distillery series. 70 CL Cask Strength Strathisla. Now, the reason that this exists, you can see this is a collaboration with the Whiskey Exchange. So this is only available through one online retailer. And the price for this is £125. Far too expensive. Right? And this, by the way, you can tell by the colour of this, this is not typical Strathisla. One of the reasons I'm excited about this is most Strathisla, either naturally or artificially, is much darker than this. The standard Strathisla 12 is not one of my favourites. It's too light in ABV. But over my whiskey journey, over the last 20 years of exploring whiskey, I have had some fantastic moments with Strathisla. However, they have all been sherry cask. Refill sherry butts, first fill sherry butts, first fill Oloroso hogsheads, sherry. It's what the distillery is known for. It's the backbone of, the Chivas Brothers blends, the distillery, and it's just known for being sherry. This, to me, it's been first fill American oak barrels, bottled at Cask Strength, Non-chill filtered. They actually say that on the label, non-chill filtered. Small batch release. Nothing about natural colour, but come on, we believe fully. First fill barrels. This is natural colour whiskey, right? Can you see me through it? Let's get it open. So not only am I getting to connect to a distillery that I don't normally get to connect through this, I'm getting to connect with that distillery through not sherry masks and sherry casks. I'm getting to connect with it through a character and a style that I recognize, first fill American bourbon. It's going to give us, I think, quite a unique glimpse into what whiskey they're actually making there. But I also did not pay £125 for this. I paid £75 for this. There was a 40% discount running on this last week. I suspect this is languishing on their shelves, and it deserves to, because £125 is too expensive. Strathisla doesn't have a reputation. Strathisla doesn't have... Strathisla it's almost like a jobbing malt, honestly. That's, like I say, I've had fantastic Strathislas over the years, but out there in the mass market, you know, it's a beautiful distillery to look at. It's very on theme. The nose on this is very on theme with the first two that I've been sipping tonight. Bourbon cask, of course. But what we've got with this is a really, really nice, sweet citrus. Satsumas. Sweet satsumas, tangerines, whatever those things are where you live. Mandarin orange, that kind of sweet, easy. There's a kind of sweet melon thing going on. This is sweet fruits, so it's verging on a wee bit of tropical there. Maybe that's the maturity, that's the age. 15 years is a decent age statement. It does not nose at 60%. No way. This is very easy to stick your face right in the glass. Sweet honey again. There's malt there in the background, but the fruit is kind of getting, all the fruit here is ripe. There's also a poise to this. So I think sipping this along the others that I've been sipping tonight, there's an immediate betrayal of a bit more maturity, a bit more age, a bit more softness and balance. And I'm speaking about something that's 60.3% ABV. Yeah, confidence and assured kind of, there's a stature about this, just from how it noses. And when you consider the way that whiskey is made at most of Pernod Ricard's distilleries, I think it's fabulous that they can put together something that they know the provenance, all first fill, 15 years, small batch, put together something that's really quite... So if the palate lives up to the nose, we're on to a wee winner here. Cheers once more. The ABV does hit hard on the palate. It's a wee bit like you're expecting a smooth landing and you hit the runway with a bump. It announces its arrival. There's a lot of ABV here, but it's not off-putting. It's what it is it's screaming for a wee splash of water. The fruit is there, a tropicality, the melon, kind of cantaloupe, sweet, fleshy melon, sweet, overripe citrus, sweet apple. You see the theme here. Honey. Second sip is much better because your brain is adjusted to that high ABV. Slight sharpness, probably associated with ABV. Let's just go for it. Let's just put a wee bit of water in this and see how we got on. You can see that the tiny pores that I'm pouring tonight, these are cask strength drams, right? And I'm just going to take, what would you call that? A scoosh. And I'll have a sip of this with a bit of water in it, and then I'll see what you guys are saying. What's your experience of Strathisla? I imagine for the majority of you, it's been pretty hard to connect with Strathislas, right? We've got Gordon and MacPhail's Distillery Label series. They were doing that for years, and they still do. Up and down. Sometimes good, sometimes bang average. Some indies will release Strathislas from time to time, but the official bottlings are always a wee bit poor. So what we've actually got is like that sweet citrus I'm talking. It's like somebody's crushed it. It's like a spritz thing going on with the water now. It's a wee bit of a kind of, I don't know, like floral type thing. Even the flowers are quite sweet. I mean, it's not that sweet a whiskey on the palate, if I'm honest, but a lot of the flavours that I'm articulating tonight to you, what I'm getting out the glass, a lot of sweet fruits. But there is a wee edge. There's definitely a wee edge. Wow, it's even helping the texture a wee bit as well. Just that wee bit of water in there. Kind of, we've not got that big hit of the ABV at 60.3% ABV. We've got this much more accessible thing, and it's taken the edge off all that fruit. We've now got a kind of a slight edge coming in, a bit of dryness, a wee bit of bitterness, a wee bit of complexity, a wee bit of a kind of different shade, a different take on it. It's a lesser spotted thing. Would you agree? £125. Sorry. There is literally 1 billion alternatives that would give you much better drinking experience at £125. But £75, you're right in about it. This is a competitive product at that price. I don't know if that Black Friday offer is still on anymore. I imagine that we're well into the week after Black Friday, so I doubt it. Paul Iberson, his Clynelish 14 bourbon was amazing. I just poured the latest Springbank Cask Strength. Sorry, fully bourbon and fantastic. Paul, you're drinking very, very well tonight. Olander is saying the Whiskey Exchange also discounted their TWE exclusive Scapa 19 down to £99 from 185. Both of these distilleries are owned by Pernod, as is the Whiskey Exchange. Coincidence? I was going to mention it. I do not doubt that there is, absolutely. But here's the thing. 19-year-old Scapa is a very, very interesting bottle of whiskey. £185? Chase yourself. It's just nonsensical price. 185, what? Just plucking that out of the sky. It may be that was bottled and released when things were looking much more rosy than they are today. But a 19-year-old Scapa at £99 is still not going to fly off the shelf. But I would have been tempted, Olander, if I'd seen that one. That might have been a really, because I have to say, over the years, if you get a good Scapa, it can be hard to beat. No, I would not call it a scoosh, says Jimmy Legg. I would call it a scoosh, a wee scoosh of water. I'm like Ralphie, says Paul Iberson. I always add plenty of water. It always brings everything out, in my opinion. I think it's nice to play with it, to add a few drops at first and see how that changes it, taking it down, and then eventually you drown it. But by that time, you've worked out where it was at its peak. Jimmy, like you're saying, I've only had G&M Strathisla at 43%, I think. It was very light. I have to say, that's why I'm so drawn to this opportunity. And I probably, if I'd seen the Scapa as well, Lolander, I would have maybe considered pulling the trigger on the Scapa too. They say this is a nice thing for me to have on the library, on the resource shelf, right? I have a pure official take on Strathisla at £75. Impossible for me to recommend at retail price. Impossible. 125 is far too much. Today, the way whiskey is just now, the amount of competition, the amount of brands, the amount of choice that's out there, it's just crazy to me that people are still thinking that that's the value of the whiskey. This is a good sipper. My third favourite of the whiskies I've poured and enjoyed tonight. Remember, this is a neck pour. It's always based on kind of first approach. I'm literally taking the cellophane off these and open them in front of you tonight. We all know that sometimes we need to adjust and kind of work out a relationship with the whiskey. It needs to breathe, it needs to relax, it needs to soften a little. The neck pour is not always a thing, but it's very, very often a thing. More often than not. Gino is saying, all right, folks, it's a long day and I'm pulling the parachute early here. Gino, you're in Europe right now instead of Canada tonight. We'll listen on replay. Enjoy the quiz. All good night, all evening, Roy Aquavite. Nice to have you. And Gino, I hope you and yours are enjoying your wee trip over to Europe. Sachin Kent is in. Good to see Sachin. He's saying, Cask Strength bourbon is best without water. So I think specifically Sachin is not talking about what I'm sipping here tonight, bourbon cask matured Scotch whiskey. He's speaking specifically about bourbon that's been matured in virgin oak, and I know exactly where he's coming from when he talks about that. The full intensity of flavour, the full delivery of all the spikes and information and complexity of bourbon. You do well to acclimatize your palate to being able to sip it at Cask Strength. I think he's got a very, very good point. Dorpass Whiskey's bought me a dram. Thank you so much, Tim. He's saying I may get Longmorn 18 Cask Strength 2023 batch. Amazing. In May I got the Longmorn 18 Cask Strength 2023 batch. So what would that have been? Cask Strength? Is that an official one, or is that the secret space side? No, the secret space side was 48%, wasn't it? So it's an interesting one. If that's the 18-year-old that's out now here, and there's an older one, a 25, I think, as well. The prices are utterly stupid. Stupid prices. Yeah. I can't tell from what you're saying there, Tim. Maybe it's the official bottling you're talking about. Danny Hevington is saying Tomatin and Cask Strength in a glass. It's been a minute. Still a great wee dram. I've still got some Tomatin and Cask Strength on the shelf, actually, Danny. And I think Tomatin and Cask Strength was one of the original 2021 or 2022 features on this vPub Cask Strength series. And they say evening barkeep on theme with a fab indie, 58.6%. Peaty Bunnahabhain in the glass, much needed after a busy evening at work. Fantastic. If you're here for the Bunnahabhain themes, I'm just about to crack one open, and it is the 2025 12-year-old Cask Strength. And we'll get to talk about price from a completely different perspective. Martin is saying, get me over the line buying the new release. Have you had a dram of it here yet tonight? Sorry, I was late to the vPub. Martin, so you're talking about this, Martin Jones. Are you talking about the virtual malt release? It's probably best you don't rely on me selling the whiskey that I chose. It's probably best that you rely on the people that's in the chat or your experience of other things that I've released or something, Martin. Never ever feel pressured into buying anything, buddy. Where is the Bunna 12 Cask Strength? That stuff is the bomb, says everyone. Good to have you in, everyone. But I also enjoy Tamdu Batch Strength, which I think it is Cask Strength. Batch Strength, Cask Strength, slightly different things. But it depends because, well, cask strength should be exactly the strength that it comes from the cask. And that can be as low as 40% ABV. It can be lower, of course. but it can't be whiskey. It can't be sold as that. Whatever the strength is, all the way up to the 60s and into the high 60s in Scotch and into the 70s for bourbon, of course. Batch strength tends to be high strength, close to cask strength. So think of Glen Scotia Victoriana. Think of Tamdhu's releases batch strength. Batch strength means that potentially they could have added a little bit of water, but kept the ABV up high enjoyment strength. Tim is saying, yes, it's the distillery one, all bourbon cask, $165, so pricey but very good. So 165 US, what is that? It's about 110 pounds sterling. That's cheaper. That's much cheaper than we get it for here. I think it's easily a triple figures dram here. I think that 18-year-old was something stupid like 175 or something pounds. Doodle Dram is saying, sorry, Arne, it jumped. It's always exciting to explore new distilleries, workhorses that are not usually on the radar. You trying that Strathisla is making me so curious. Yeah, I have to say, I would like to taste this and say, yeah, I'm getting a lot of Strathisla from that. If I was to be honest, I'm getting a lot of Speyside from this. Bourbon cask Speyside. It's objectively good whiskey, really good. But it's been up against Laddie 10 and Arran 10, Arran Barley tonight. And on first blush, on first pour, I mean, you saw how quickly I got through the Arran, and it's not happening with this. It's not got that big impact thing. And Martin is saying yes. So that was you wanting to be bullied into the virtual malt. Before I go into the Bunnahabhain, then I tell you what I'll do, Martin. I'll get a clean glass. I'll get a Thompson Brothers favourite. I'll get a Rastal, a tall-stemmed glass. And I'll have a wee sip. And I'll try and give you my tasting notes off the cuff of the virtual malt. And I'm not trying to sell this to you, fella. Just it's up to you what you want to buy. This is here for you if you would like it. Sorry if it looks like I'm being so stingy. It's not. This is a kind of added drama. I wasn't expecting to be sipping this tonight. Look at the colour of it. I know that we talk about, pale whiskies are delicious and never kind of read too much into the colour. But when you know the colour is natural, when you know that it's not been footered with or designed, I mean, that's just objectively beautiful. I don't think you're going to be able to pick up how much it's sticking to the glass there either, are you? Can you see some of the lines there? Is the camera going to focus on that? Nope. It's trying. Anyway, let's have a wee nose. Pouch tobacco. Red toffee, red candy, red fruit, blackberries. It's like I've said tobacco already, but it's like that kind of moist pouch tobacco thing. There's a tea thing here, a fruit tea as well. Tea leaves. Dark chocolate. We often get on sherry cask whiskies, I often get chocolate. It's often milk chocolate, but this is clearly like a dark chocolate note. This is quite an old school nose. I think the hoggy that this came from is American oak. It's an American oak hogshead, but this whiskey has vibes of old school European oak. So the dark chocolate, I would associate a wee bit with that. You're also looking for a bit of spice and a bit of dryness to old European oak. This is red. It's scarlet red whiskey. There's just that. So when you nose this, maybe it's a little bit like the old way back in the day when you first ever. I don't know how long all of you have been into whiskey, but if you ever appeared over a glass of Aberlour Abuna, right, one of the original Abunas when the batches were down in the 40s and the 50s and maybe even earlier, it's reminiscent of that. cocoa powder, coffee, cold coffee. And I'm going to say mint, but it's specifically, it's not mint, but it's a minty, somewhere around the mint, fennel, green, tomato vine, herbal. There's a green element here in the background as well. I need to have a sip, don't I? Cheers, everyone. It's Christmas. Christmas is that dense Christmas sponge cake. The fruit is now gone. Dried fruits and currants. There's that lovely spice and acidity at the end. Nothing like the spices I was talking about with other ones. It kind of makes the memories of those other spices I was talking about go like a white pepper spice. This is cinnamon and nutmeg spice. This is kitchen spices. Cooking Christmas cake spices. There's a thing in Scotland called a clouty dumpling. Only the Scots will understand what that is. But it's a steamed pudding. It's cooked in cloth, and it's very like that. Drying on the finish. Long drying finish. Slightly tannic, slightly sweet, slightly chocolatey. Salted plain dark chocolate. It's a winter warmer. It really is. For anyone that's got it, I hope some of you were able to sip it along with me there. That's a cracker. Andy has found my Bunna 2014 Canasta warehouse, says Helen. 60.8% ABV. Just opened it for the vPub. Because, of course, you should, Helen. Fantastic. Paul Eberson said, I have an older bottle of the Bunna Cask Strength, which is fabulous, but I think the new one is too expensive. Paul, you've probably succinctly summarised exactly what I think I'm about to say about Bunnhabhain, but I think we have to give it an opportunity because if you look at the bottle specs, 12 years old, Cask Strength, of course, £90. Oh, it's a bit pricey, it's a bit expensive, but it might taste absolutely knockout, and it might be suddenly every bit of £90 worth of whiskey. Rafa Rutka, that looks like a new name, Rafa. He's saying Glen Scotia from Thompson Brothers Vintage 2013, 57.1%, super tasty. 57.1%, I would suspect, could possibly be Cask Strength, but I think that's probably been reduced to 57.1, 100 proof, Rafa. Fantastic, Glen Scotia. I wonder what, 2013? Good stuff, good stuff. Alistair McPhail is saying, I made a clouty dumpling every Hogmanay, no matter where I am in the world. Superb. Share your recipe, Alistair. Seb K is in. Good to see you, Seb. He's in Portugal. He's saying, hey, everyone, and Roy. Popping in for a wee bit for now. Not sure I'll make it to the end. Don't worry about it, Seb. It's wonderful to see you in here with your wee watermelon themed emoji. Danny Keenan is saying, even around barflies, I have a case of Cask Strength man flu right now, so loaded up on Lemsip and a cup of tea for me. That's terrible to hear, Danny. I've had something that's not cleared for a few weeks, but I've been absolutely fine. I just know I'm not 100%, but I'm 90%. Sorry to hear you're poorly. Get well soon, my friend. Get well soon. And Rick Johnson is saying, you're torturing me, Roy. I won't pick mine up until March. Rick, I know. Listen, I've got a buddy in California too, Bill, and I think there's a chance that you might be able to consolidate with him. But cheers, everyone that's picking this virtual malt up. It's all about us. By the way, there's Glasgow 1770 still available as well. So if you're looking to do a wee consolidated shipment, there's nothing better than an Aquavitae Glasgow going alongside the virtual malt. Remember, the Aquavitae Glasgow bottling is a massive outturn, 550 bottles that we did, fully intending for the first time ever to have an Aquavitae bottling on general sale and not kind of just disappear into the ether. So we have that ability now to say, okay, what do I do to buy 2 bottles? Or anyway, sorry, I'm not supposed to be selling to you. Just enjoy. Cheers, everyone. Jimmy Leg is saying, I won't get mine till next October if Roy doesn't drink it. Don't worry, Jimmy. It'll be in safe. Well, as safe as storing it here is going to be. I mean, I suppose it could theoretically get occasionally pilfered. Don't worry. It'll be absolutely safe. Be absolutely safe. Okay, I've got 2 clean Glencairns here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour one of the best Cask Strength whiskies I've had in the last 5 years. The only time I've bought a second bottle, and it was specifically the 2022, I have to say, 2022 and 2023 edition, there's not much in it. This is Bunnahabhain's 12-year-old Cask Strength. Just fantastic whiskey. The original one that came out in 2021, I wasn't 100% sure of, but they got it much better. On the follow-up releases, in my opinion, 2022 came along, superb. That's what this one is. I bought a second bottle. There was plenty of it out there, and it lasted longer than anyone expected. I think I picked up this last year. Then in 2023 came along, super solid and strong as well. 2024, nothing. There was no 12-year-old Cask Strength released in 2024. Instead, and I think it was purely a stock issue, maybe because the stocks of 2022 and 2023 were still languishing a little, but they chose not to release a 2024 release. I mean, read the room, just attenuate, maybe release a bit less or something if you know you're going to do it annually, or just commit and put it out. It's a shame that we're missing a 2024 release, but it is what it is. It doesn't matter. They brought out a 21-year-old as well, but nobody could afford that. Or, sorry, not no one. I couldn't afford that, and I did not buy the 21-year-old Bunnahabhain Cask Strength. I passed on it in 2024, but interestingly in 2024, it did win the Oswa for the best Scotch whisky. And in my opinion, that was not because of the 2021 release, it was because of their track record of the 2022 and the 2023 releases. This is the one that you're after. If you have the choice of vintages, in my opinion, the best Cask Strength release of recent years that can go toe-to-toe with your Springbank 12s, with various other wonderful, wonderful Cask Strength whiskies, an official bottling that's easy to recommend, the 2022 vintage of Bunnahabhain's 12-year-old Cask Strength. Let's have a wee nose and sip. Okay, I'm asking it to go up against a 17-year-old Matt. I was just about to say undisclosed Speyside. But it can. Super fruity, strong, robust. Interesting to sip it now. I think that would do a wonderful job of showing that kind of European oak style that I'm getting from the virtual malt. The drier, spicier, old school, grungier take on sherry. This is cleaner, sweeter, rounder, gloopier, easier, smoother on delivery. Everything about this is just much more approachable. Everything about the virtual malt is much more old school in style and character. This is quite a bit more youthful on this one as well, so I think I'm getting a wee bit more ABV on this. The 2022 was 56.6. Just an excellent, excellent, excellent whiskey. And I complained about the price when it came out. I think it came out at £75, and I had a whinge and said it was too expensive. But I've been whinging for months now about the 2025 release being too expensive. But, you know, with all those Black Friday deals going around, I kept my eye on this, and I thought, for the Cask Strength vPub, I think what I have to do is get a hold of the latest release of the bottle. You can tell I haven't opened this yet. What a mess that is. Not prepped at all. I bought this from the Whiskey Exchange. You can tell by the wrapping. I bought it at the same time as that Strathisla, actually. But this was not. It did not become available. My bin's full. It didn't become available on a Black Friday deal. And I was sure that it would. At 90 quid, I felt that this was too expensive. This is 2025. And okay, this is going to be high quality stuff. They're going to spend a lot of time putting this together. Similar ABV, 56.4% on this one. They're going to be picking theoretically their best casks for this vintage, this 12-year-old age statement. But £90, I held off. I was sure this was going to go on discount, and it didn't. And then I remembered the place I hold in the community, right? There's a lot of people holding off on this because of the price. So I'm either here to take the hit and judge it at £90, the price that I paid for this. It was 80 something actually, 86 I think. So it wasn't the full 90 RRP, a wee bit less. So I can judge it at that, or and encourage you to pick it up, or encourage you to leave it on the shelf. Oh, not the greatest of pops. Let's try again. There we go. That's better. Port. And Bunnahabhain always has a really, really, really narrow neck, but it should give us a good glug. It doesn't really mean much. So immediately we can see the colour. It's very, very similar, but the new one, the 2025, is just a nudge paler. And I think actually you can see that on the camera. I can see it here to the naked eye. I can see that the newer one's a wee bit paler, but that's okay. We appreciate the colour. We don't judge by the colour, right? Let's get I like to get as you know, the Glencairn coated so that when you stick your nose in, you're making the most of it. If you lie it on its side, the Glencairn, and you just roll it around the table, it does a really good job of that. I've got lots of wee things I do with Glencairns. They become quite fidgets more than drinking vessels. Okay, let's have a wee nose. Oh, different. Remarkably. Wow. Not the same dram. Incredible. This is all citrus. This is all oranges, sweet and ripe grapefruit, bright, fresh, very sherry forward. There's no, don't let me lead you down a route of thinking that it's anything other than sherry cask. It is. Clean, bright, fresh. Lots of top notes coming from this rather than what we traditionally expect from sherry. Lots of base notes, right? This is like a completely different nosing experience from this. Darker, more moody. I mean, this is still quite clean, objectively clean sherry, but a much more moodier experience. This would be completely different against this. Yeah, it's like, again, I'm getting lots of citrus here, sweet citrus again. Let's go straight in for a wee taste. Straight out neck pour. Much better on the palate than the nose would have suggested. Okay, let's take a beat here. Let's pause. Treacle. It's almost, I think, like we're going down swatches, steps, stages, and kind of how when I talk about things like old school sherry, this is Wow, let's go into 2025 again. Okay, the quality of this whiskey has just made it a lot harder for me to have a bitch about it. This 2025 has a lovely sharpness and a brightness and a complexity and a twist to it that makes it super engaging and interesting straight away. On the nose, it was all about the kind of brightness, the sharpness, the kind of the spritz thing. But on the palate, it's just, wow, it's just good. It's really good. Here's the thing. Let's see if you can follow me on this, because it's ad hoc and I'm just kind of winging it. But sometimes, especially when you see me or you're in a group with anyone and you're just trying to articulate what you're getting, okay? There are no words that we have that can easily describe why something is different from something else, or something is better than something else, or because a lot of the language that we use, it becomes kind of mushed. It becomes all the same. We're just kind of throwing things. We're just kind of throwing language out there to try and express what we're tasting. And it's difficult to find words that makes it very, very easy to make it clear that you're enjoying one more than the other. So you end up defaulting to things like good or better or more interesting or nicer or I prefer. But I think what's also very, very useful is that you're aware of your own body language and reactions to the whiskey, and you're aware of the body language and the reactions to the whiskey of the people that are around you, because that can articulate so much about the experience that they're having. As I'm looking down on these, I just see how much paler the new one is. I've just been raving about the 2022 Bunnahabhain release, saying that it's the best, and it's one of the best Cask Strength official releases I've been enjoying over recent years, to the point that I bought a second bottle of it. And it is just excellent. Despite 56.6% ABV, I can pour this for people who are much earlier in their whiskey journey, and they can really, really love it and connect with it and enjoy it. But this new one has an edge, and it has a different take. It has this is why this needs to be an annual release, right? Get the numbers right, release it annually, because their ability to switch and change. It's treacle. So there's a drier, richer, slightly charred edge to the 2025 release, which makes it very, very interesting. So, sometimes when you taste something on whiskey that can taste a little bit like smoke, or something that is smoked or charred, but it's not a smoked or peaty whiskey, that's what's in here. So it's like a treacle, it's like a caramelized sugar, a slightly bittersweet edge. And I think it makes it, I'm hesitant to use the word better, but I think I'm close to saying that. It certainly makes it interesting. Now, when I bought my backup bottle of the 2022, it was £75, I think, 72, 73, 74, something like that. I'm now being asked to pay 12, 14, 15 pounds, maybe 20 pounds more, depending on where I buy it from, for this 2025 release, and that's too much. I don't think there's any reason for them to be charging that, and We can talk about that. People can run their business how they want to run a business, as much as they want. But there are a lot of people messaging me right now and saying, because of the success that Bunnahabhain 12-year-old has had over the years, is that why it's now £90? Because of Bunnahabhain being celebrated by the community so much for their Cask Strength release, is that now why they think they can charge £90? Because Bunnahabhain won the best Scotch whisky in the Oswas in 2024, do they now think they can charge £90 for the 2025 release? I don't think that's what's happening, but it's really hard for me to defend that, isn't it? Because even to me, it looks a wee bit like that's what's happening. You cannot start to increase your releases year after year after year after year when whiskey is becoming more and more and more challenging. People have less and less and less money year after year after year. It's like you're tone deaf. It's like you're not listening. It feels like we are being abused, and it's not a good look. It's even more difficult to come back from that. 1 year you're going to have to release your 12-year-old Cask Strength and admit you got it wrong, and you're going to have to bring it out cheaper than it did the previous year, and that's a difficult message to communicate. Greed is never easy to come back from. Now, I have to say, Burn Stewart and the brands behind Burn Stewart that became Distell, that is CVH Spirits today, they're amongst our most beloved and our most favourite. They're amongst my favourite and most beloved. Tobermory, Leitchik, Deanston, Bunnahabhain, love the stuff. But there's so many odd decisions going on that it's almost like they're trying to push us away. And it feels weird because we were pals. We were really, really good pals. We thought we understood the vibe. They understood us. Everything was going great. They were the best of worlds to everyone. They had fantastic entry-level stuff. It was all natural. They had fantastic exclusive stuff. It was exciting. The distillery visits were fantastic. Then it got expensive. Then it got even more expensive. Then it got stupidly expensive. Then it became prohibitively expensive. And we're seeing that we've still got a hangover of that in the whiskies that we're enjoying today from them. We need an Ian McMillan in the scene, a disruptor, somebody to be banging on the boardroom tables to say, no, that's wrong. That's a short-term strategy. I think the reason that this came out at £90 is because they felt they could charge £90 and it would fly off the shelves, and it has not. How many people in here think that £90 is too expensive for the latest Bunnahabhain? I have to say, even despite my very positive reaction to it. Bowman, 1999, Rob is saying, the last time I saw a Bunnahabhain 12 Cask Strength here in the States, it was $90 US. I wonder which batch that would have been. Whiskey Music is saying the words are wow, wow, wow. So you've already tried this. Paul Eberson is saying, dang, seems like I'm going to be tempted now. It needs to come down in price, Paul. Even, let's be objective about this. If we were in 2022, this £90 for this bottle of whiskey, you'd be, it wouldn't be pragmatism, it would be just surrendering to the reality of the situation. Yeah, okay, it's 90 quid whiskey. But we're in 2025, and we want Bunnahabhain to be strong in 2027 and in 2029 and going forward. And if they're pricing this, who's buying it and who's raving about it? Who's drinking it? Who's going, yes, another home run from Bunnahabhain? Because this release in 2025 has been so muted. I'll admit there was a part of me that wanted this to be lesser than the 2022. And it's not the same as the 2022. They're very, very different. But it's not lesser. It is not. It's very different. Jesper Bach is saying, have you tried the okay, you're asking me to pronounce some Gaelic here. Orna Ur, it looks like Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. Ridiculously good dram, that one. I wonder what that one is. I don't think it's a travel retail. So Jesper, the easy answer to that would be I have not tried it. It's nice to have somebody in recommending it. What's a fair price for it? Martin Jones is saying. The going rate for a Cask Strength release is in the ballpark of 60 to 70 quid, isn't it? Arnaho, Arnamurchan. Okay, the age statements are lower here, but we all appreciate that the age of maturing something is more of a time investment rather than an actual cost investment. Regardless, I accept the argument that if it's got a bit more age about it. So let's suggest that if Bunnhabhain 2022, 2023, 2025 had all come out at 60, no, let's not, £75. That's the price for it. And then on the online retailers, as they all compete with each other, we would see a few pounds knocked off it for those of us. And for those of us living next to a specialist retailer, we want to just go in and pick it up off the shelf and have a chitty chat and see what else is going on while we're there, £75. And I'm going to stand by that because I was able to buy that 2022 at 75. They are very, very different. The 2025 is a beautiful whiskey. It's a really good whiskey. But there's no reason for it to be more expensive than the 2022 or the 2023 release. I wonder what the 2024 release would have come out at if it existed. Square 1286 Kev. I wonder if you're being thrown around by these YouTube handles, Kev. It's nice to have you, and he's bought me a dram. Don't know how, but I just received the virtual malt at my doorstep in Wisconsin. 3 days shipping from Scotland. Incredible. Thanks again, Roy. Kev, I think what you need to do is not thank me. I'm not part of that. I think you need to send a message to the folks at Royal Whiskey and say, because the only messages that they receive is when they've got something wrong. Oh, you forgot to. Oh, you did this, or you shipped that, or it's broken, or something. If you could send them a message, Kev, do me a favour. Copy me in, whiskey@aquavitae.com. And send the support team at Royal Whiskies a wee thank you so much message. I bet it would make their day. I'm still not going to encourage you to open it. I think it still needs to rest, just in case there's a bit of bottle shot going on. Martin is saying staff costs from 2022 to now have gone up a lot. So to be fair, they're not a mile off. I think that to blame it on staff, you've got a modicum of an argument there. But I'm not. But Henrik Schmidt is saying €99 or whatever, Black Friday, Arna, Madeira and rum cask at £35 GBP. No doubt which to choose. Okay, that's serious gouge. I mean, that's serious discounting at £35 for Arnamurchan, Madeira and rum cask. That's a bit like what I'm talking about with the Brut Laddie 10. It's too cheap. I want these companies to survive. It's a long-term strategy, getting the pricing right, not underselling, not overselling. Sugar Kitty, Jeff, last year Royal Whiskies packaged my whiskey on New Year's Eve day and it arrived on January 2nd. Jeff, you're in the States as well. That's incredible. Maybe they're sending it out by Trebuchet or Catapult or something. I don't know, but that's amazing. Kev, if you do open it tonight, let us know what you think about it. Is if to impact these concepts a wee bit more, back in 2022, one more clean Glencairn, because I'm going to finish on a peaty dram. I'm not going to open this whiskey, but I'm going to show it to you. One of my all-time favourite Cask Strength whiskies is, I'm just going to say it very quietly, Lagavulin 12 Cask Strength special releases. But when it's pure and when it's left alone, refill or bourbon cask, let's say, it's just pure decadence to me. It's wonderful stuff. However, we all know the Diageo story, and no, I have not bought Lagavulin 12 2025 release, and I have no intention to. But a nice wee backup and a slightly different take on Islay Cask Strength is the wonderfully solid Laphroaig. And here we go. I've still got some batch 10 on the go here of Laphroaig's 10-year-old Cask Strength. This is back from January 2018. There's still some. And I don't think I bought this back in 2018. I bought this much more recently. They tend to hang about a wee bit from time to time. You can pick up batches. We're going to talk about that. Here we have one that's a lot more. I think I opened this on a Cask Strength vPub, so there's hardly been touched. I need to revisit this, and I think it might be this one that I pour tonight. This is batch 15. And it's all Cask Strength ABV, 56.5 for the 15, 58% for the 10 there. But you might have noticed that Black Friday or not, this is hanging about forever. And I bought this. I paid full price for this. I didn't pick this up on a Black Friday deal. I bought this batch 16 for 70 quid or 75 quid or something like that. But batch 16, this is the December 2022 release of Laphroaig 10-year-old Cask Strength. The ABV on this one, what does that say? 58.5% ABV. Now, no one has paid more than 50 quid for this in the last 6 months. It's discounted to the point where it is now going to be difficult for them to sell subsequent batches at the kind of 80, 90 pounds that they were heading for. They've obviously overproduced in 2022. There's been far too much stock. But I think more than any other bottle I could hold up in front of the camera, in front of everyone tonight, to illustrate how whiskey is coming back to us. It's this Laphroaig Cask Strength, batch 16. Because while everything was going crazy and no one was reading the room right, stupid, crazy decisions were made. And that has meant that there are hangovers and there are consequences and there are issues happening now that we're in 2025 where money is much tighter, where people are being much more careful. People are feeling nervous about the money that they have right now. That in order for them to get our attention, these crazy, crazy things are happening. Diageo special releases, deep discounts right across the board. Everywhere you look, there are these bargains to be had. It's not a good look for all of these distillery official bottlings. It's not a good look for all of these producers that are place so much value in their brands, whether it's Bunnahabhain, whether it's Laphroaig, whether it's Lagavulin, whether it's whatever it is. And then, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, not even 2 years ago, somewhere between 18 months and 2 years ago, an independent bottler comes along with a range that is so utterly effective at showing everyone how absurd the situation has become that we almost don't believe it, that we become cynical, that we say, oh, there must be some strategy or subterfuge or something's going on here. You know what I'm talking about. The first person to mention what I'm talking about, an independent bottler comes along to just upend everything and illustrate instantly how absurd everything has become. Peathead, Symington. Thanks, Frank. Here we've got a Kalila, a 2014 Kalila, £46, 57.1% ABV, fantastic. If the level betrays the bottle, look at the level in this. I've only had it a few months on the shelf and I'm getting through it. Here we have a Glenord, 57.1%. Of course, it's the 100 proof series. They're all the same ABV. An 11-year-old Glenord, £46. I think I paid a wee bit more for this Linkwood. This is a 2013 10-year-old Linkwood. I think this cost me £47. It was expensive. My goodness. Look at this here. We've got an Ardmore 2012, a 12-year-old Ardmore. Absolutely gorgeous PT liquid coming out at 46, 47, 48 pounds. You got a 10 pounds or 15 pounds more, then you can maybe go for the black labeled version. This is what they're calling their slightly more premium exceptional cask. 16-year-old Macduff, 2007 vintage, £62.95. when all is said and done, and I think it might have been the last Cask Strength vPub that I did a year ago, why is anyone buying anything else? I've sat with you all night talking about Cask Strength whiskies, what the price should be, how much should it be for this and that at this age, and a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 10-year-old, 11. Just stop. Signatory Vintage are putting out all these 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old and showing us exactly how much it should be, because their staffing is not any more expensive than anyone else. They're paying the same amount. Their duties, the taxes, the bottles, the packaging, everything. Are we saying an independent bottler can buy cheaper than a large-scale producer? Maybe that could happen, I suppose, but unlikely. Could it be that the goose has gotten a little bit fat and it needs to start running around the yard a little bit? Could it be that we've all been tenderized just a little bit? It's amazing that we've got fantastic whiskies like our Cask Strength Laphroaigs and being on decent deals, sub £50 for a 10-year-old Cask Strength Laphroaig. It's fantastic value, it really is. And we look at it and say, that's a bargain, right? Now compare it to that Kalila that I held up there, right? A 2014 10-year-old Kalila, 57.1% ABV, 45 quid, and it's always been 45 quid, and it's not on discount. This is absurdity that we're trying to explain, that I'm trying to explain to you. Why is anyone buying anything else? Only because that they can't get the 100 proof series. Only because it doesn't reach their market. Only because that they only have the official bottles available. Whiskey is in the hands of the transient right now. Whiskey is in the hands of people who are here today and gone tomorrow. Whiskey's future remains in the hands of people that don't care. Now, that maybe seems a bit extreme. First world problems, all of this, of course, yeah. But this is what we love. It's why we're here. It's why we hang out here on a Thursday night. It's what we care about. Whiskey needs to be in the hands of guardians who are here for it today, who were here for it yesterday, who are long in the tooth and have a pretty good idea of how it's going to remain here tomorrow. And that is not currently Diageo. It's not CVH Spirits right now. I hope it changes. It is not Pernod Ricard. It is certainly not Beam Suntory. But I suspect that the people who know how to look after the health of whiskey have been here for a long time and know how to pitch things in order for it to be existing tomorrow. A wee mini rant. It wasn't intentional. Jimmy Legg saying, if you only bought Cask Strength whiskey, you'd miss out on all the Barfly bottlings at 55%. Easy answer. It is a very, very vanity thing, Jimmy. It really is. Interestingly, the Daftmill double single was genuinely, legitimately Cask Strength at 55% ABV, despite it being small batch. Donner Pass Whiskey saying, now that they are doing bourbon casks, I need to get some of them. Had a bunch of the sherry cask ones, and they are good, but a bit samey aquavite. I'm all over the bourbon cask one. By the way, there's a new one coming out, the Altmore, that I had the privilege of sitting and sipping recently. It's one of the exceptional cask black label ones, should be in the order of 60, 65 quid. It's an exceptional wee dram, really is really good. Fantastic, glad you're enjoying it. Everyone is saying, well, I've reached old fart age these last few years. Could not have been foreseen. The whole world seems upside down. It started with the pandemic and now it's just crazy. I think things are less crazy than they were in the pandemic years. I really do. And I think we've often got to look at data, I think, and things like that, rather than just rely on perspective. The world is crazy. Legitimately, Chris, it's absolutely crazy. But I don't think it's quite as bad as we imagine. We need to make sure that our future is not in the talking about whiskey, but I'm talking about bigger things too. Our future is not in the hands of the crazy. The situation can be crazy, but crazy is okay in the hands of sane and sanity. In the hands of sanity. Unfortunately, that's not. Talking about whiskey and the world in general, it's not the same everywhere all of the time. And I think we can get distracted a wee bit by thinking that the world's going to hell in a handcart, when the truth and the facts actually suggest that things are a wee bit better. I could point in the direction of the Gapminder Foundation. That might be quite a fun place for you to look. I often take a lot of comfort from looking at their work. The little Tony is saying that signatory Kalila is lovely stuff. And there's batches and batches and batches coming out, Tony, as well. Nice to have you in. Peter is saying that Oddity is saying, Peter, that Aquavita is some crack. Rick Johnson is saying, good to have you in, Barry. Nice to have you here. Rick Johnson is saying, hey, Guardians, that sounds like a great name for a group. It is a great name, isn't it? Paul Iverson is saying, I have several signatory vintages, 100 proof, but not all of them are great. Some are, though. Listen, I'm noticing this about in my opinion, was that they were all just kind of good, solid whiskies, and none of them were pure sparklers. None of them kind of stood out or whatever. And then that Glenord, the bourbon cask Glenord, came along, and I was like, wow. And I bought a second bottle on immediately. And you're just like, this is just fantastic stuff for 45 quid. And so you have to kind of contextualize it all. We've got this wonderfully varied and flavoured selection of whiskies. We complained about there being no bourbon casks. The bourbon casks arrived. And at a price point that really should be shining a torch on everything else that's on the shelf. Are we saying that it costs Signatory Vintage less to mature the stock than all the other producers out there? You know, it's just... Taylor actually saying, here in the States, it's not super easy to find Signatory. Definitely not the 100 proof series, but single casks. Also hard to find Impex single casks, but there are a few good Cask Strength bottlers. And that's one of the things, Taylor, is it's going to be tough depending on where you are in the world. But maybe you'll travel. Maybe you know someone that is traveling and they can bring you back something. And it's good to have the intelligence, right? Fraser Maid is saying, hello, Aquavita. Good to have you in. I think that's Gordon. I recognize the icon. I recognize the Fraser part. Nice to have you in, buddy. Cheers to all the best, Roy. This has been a week for the community. So glad you're at the helm, Captain. Ringing the season, says Graham Young. That's wonderful, wonderful words to read, my friend. One of the nicest guys I've met in whiskey, Graham Young. What a superstar. Lolander is saying, speaking about the world in a more positive way, perhaps you can do a World Cup themed vPub next week featuring the whiskies or alternatives from the nations that Scotland will face after the draw on the 5th. Lolander, I like the vibes. I like how you're talking. I've trying to squeeze too much into the last two vPubs of the year. Guardians of the Glencairn, says Ian Bruce. And Peter Lee is saying, looking forward to our Ardnamurchan visit with you next month. You're talking to Graham Fraser. I had a panic on. I thought you were talking to me. I'm going to Ardnamurchan next month. Anthony Lambert saying, I recently bought Signatory Orkney, 14-year-old 100 proof. What a bargain and a great dram. The only way to buy HP these days. Jerry Miller is saying, I like it, talking to Lolander and Aquavita about some arrangement. Fraser Maid is saying, why am I shown as Fraser Maid? Weird. You can click on your name, your icon, go back to your channel page, go in and edit your name so the handle comes up with whatever you want it to say, as long as it's not taken, and come back again and we'll know who you are. Gordon. Everyone is saying the world is so intertwined now more than ever. The vPub is the perfect example. As I type this live from 3,000 miles away, I think all businesses are trying to figure this out. Whiskey too. Chris, I never want to tune into a vPub and think I won't get to see that wee icon of yours. I feel like it's just been there. That little sailboat, it's just always been there. Thank you, buddy. Andy's saying the Barfly Arnaho more than holds its own against a heavily peated Cask Strength Bunna. The Arnaho's problems with my dram of the year, Slancha. And this is coming from Bunnhabhain super fan Andy. Let's raise a wee glass of Bunnhabhain to my pal Andy. Thank you, buddy. I feel the same way that Arnaho is punching above its weight. I also feel the same about the Glasgow, and I feel the same about this wee virtual malt as well. Cheers, fella. Okay. How's the chitty chatty going? 2 hours and 9 minutes. Coming into the quiz at the end. I had a quiz at the end prepared for you tonight. It was 80-90% prepared, but I used it on an impromptu lock-in on Sunday night with supporters, with patrons, with guardians, and all the people in the transition point at that point in time. We just got together on Sunday night for a bit of a kind of catch-up to let everyone know where I was. And the intention was to do a mini vPub and not do a quiz, but I had a quiz ready for tonight already. And I decided, you know, if we want a quiz, we can do that. And I put it out to a poll. The poll finished on 50-50. 50% of the people not wanting a quiz and 50% of the people wanting a quiz. This is why I've always put the quiz at the end. That's why it's literally called the quiz at the end. If quizzes aren't your thing, if it's not the type of thing that you want to participate in, it's okay for you to kind of drift off and get a slightly earlier bed. For as long as the vPub's been alive, the quiz has been at the end. Super interesting for me, though, to see that 50-50 split. Seb is saying, the Portuguese Barflies recently had a semi-blind of 7-year-old signature vintage 100 proofs, and the Glentocher's 11 at number 8 was the standout. Glentocher's is always a standout whiskey. I hope that it was the fruit that was popping through on that, because it often is. Sorry, Aquavita says whiskey with Molly. I don't know why you're apologising, buddy. There's nothing for you to apologise for, as far as I can see. Rican Haddock's good to see you in, my friend. Been a while since I made a live. May as well make it Cask Strength. Fantastic. Always nice to welcome you. I don't care how long it's been since your last visit. Paul Eberson is saying the double single and the Arnaho are fantastic. Thank you, Paul. I'm glad you're enjoying them. And my pal Willie Buchanan is in saying, Guardians, Aquavitae. Fantastic, Willie. Thank you for supporting. Ian is saying, I'm still gutted from failing on the ass hat last week for my number 10. I've been studying this week when up in Karatha. Ian, don't worry about it. It means a lot that people... It was me that forced the quiz on Sunday, Aquavitae. Ben, that's why you're here. It's the job that you do. Never apologise to me for it. Never, ever, ever apologise. Thank you, buddy. So there we go. There are other cask strengths in the vPub that remain sealed, and maybe they'll have to go along and join that Tullibardine when it finally turns up. And maybe instead of a wintertime cask strength, maybe next year we can have an earlier cask strength vPub or something. I don't know. But I think we still live in really turbulent times when it comes to life and whiskey, and I think that things are still trying to find their equilibrium. They're still trying to settle, but there are too many producers out there that are brand protective, that are still trying to not accept where they are today, still trying to overcharge, despite Diageo's language about how they're going to change and all that kind of stuff. They released its special releases and everything was far, far, far too expensive. It really was. To go into the quiz at the end, I'm going to pour something peaty. I'm going to pour... what should I pour? I'm going to go with what I suggested I might pour. The Kalila from Signature Vintage or the Laphroaig Cask Strength. Let's go with the Kalila. The Kalila from a first fill and refill Oloroso sherry butts. Of course, it's 100 proof, 57.1% ABV. No glug because of the level. I've been enjoying this whiskey. Please, if you're in the mood, if you're in the mind to have a wee bit more fun, I think it's quite an interesting quiz tonight. I hope it is. I had to make most of the questions from scratch because I used up most of my questions on Sunday night. But it might be a bit of fun for you to hang around for a wee while. How's the time going? It's midnight. So I'm raising a glass on the stroke of midnight and asking you to stay a wee bit longer for the quiz at the end. But what I'm actually doing is raising this glass to say thank you to everybody that in times of doubt and worry and stress and what felt like me pulling a pin on everything I'd built, this pure destruction, here I am a week, 10 days later, feeling reassured and comfortable and supported and seen and appreciated and all of those things. It's ridiculous that something like this can exist, and yet it does. you know what I'm talking about. Every single one of you Guardians, thank you for stepping forward. If you want to join us, aquavitae.com. That's where we're going to be from here on in. Thank you. Quiz time. Let's watch the numbers drop. That's okay. Oh, wow. Kalila used to be, you know, the elegant Isle of Peat. I remember it being described as that's just a big, massive smash of peat. Hellswood is saying the Guardians have your back. You really do, Helen. Everyone is saying, dude, we got your back. Thank you, Chris Paul Iberson is saying cheers, Aquavitae. But Jimmy Jazz is saying cheers, Aquavitae. We need a Guardians emoji. We do. It's coming. It's coming. And I just, I've held off with the shield thing, but there isn't a shield out there in whiskey, right? I can't think of another shield shape. It seemed such an obvious kind of styled thing, so it might yet be a shield. I know I'm proud to say I'm a guardian of Aquavitae, says Peter Lee. I'm proud to say that Peter Lee is a guardian of Aquavitae. Peter, it's nice to have you, buddy. And Jimmy Lag is saying, I don't really care for you, but whiskey is the best. We have an arrangement, don't we, Jimmy? Cheers, fella. Put Arnie on it, says Big Jimmy Jazz. You know, I think there's things that Arnie is going to bring to opportunities in the future. But the Aquavitae logo, the vPub compass, the barfly logo, those have all been tidied up by other people other than me, but the original designs have always been my own, and I think I can already visualize what a Guardian's logo might look like. It might take a few weeks for us to actually witness it, but we'll get there. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me tonight. We are having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be an issue on Facebook's end. It is possible that the stream was ended or deleted on Facebook. Okay, apologies to anybody who's watching on Facebook. But honestly speaking, I would hope that the majority of you, in order to interact with me, we're here on YouTube. How about a targe for the logo? It's a thought, Ian. I like the way you're thinking. Stevie O is shouting, Arnie, Arnie, Arnie. Whiskey with Molly saying, I've used AI to WhatsApp you some stuff tonight. Ben, what are you doing? Let's see. Okay, we are not. I'm not even going to show this. Okay. Whiskey with Molly has been busy. What are you doing? Yeah, I am Groot. Oh, that's pretty cool. That is very, very cool. AI has expanded on the backdrop a little bit as well. Let's show you this here. Ben, good stuff. I am Groot. One of the best characters, right? Superb. Swords crossed in front of a still. Swords? Nah, swords isn't. I don't know if it's my vibe. The Guardian coat of arms, Danny Heaventon is saying, Bruce is saying, I see the physio. I'm to see the physio, so I can't stay for the quiz. Good luck, Barflies and et al. And Slancheva. Bruce, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. It's nice to have had you in. Great stuff. Okay, I realise at this point that I have somehow managed to not import the quiz in advance. Slacker. It only takes a couple of minutes to come in. It is the 4th of December. It's the 4th of December. Can you believe it? So let me tell you what's happening in the weeks ahead, actually. Next week, the 11th of December, is an on-location vPub, a secret on-location vPub. I'm going to encourage everybody to try and guess where I'm going to appear next week. I'm going to be at some distillery. I'll give you some clues. It is in Scotland. Let's leave it at that. Where do you think I'm going to appear on the 11th of December next week? I'm going to appear at a distillery somewhere in Scotland. You can guess where that is. Why am I keeping it a secret and not announcing it? because of your encouragement, because that idea that where is Roy going to be, where's he going to appear, where's he on location. And I haven't been on location for a long time, over a year since I've done it. And I remember the chat from that time, and I thought, let's just try it, because if I announce where I'm going to be, all the fans of that distillery will arrive, and people that don't really like that distillery might choose to maybe maybe not. So let's just see. In the opening seconds, you'll understand exactly where I am, and you can make your decisions from there. But get guessing. Please guess. Where am I going to be? Kevin is going for Glasgow. David, it's Dan. Is it Dan? I think it's Dan, or David or Dan. Visiting Loch Lomond. He's saying Loch Lomond. Do we need to do a curry, says Andy. So you think it might be down in Campbelltown? Andy Hill's saying that narrows it down. Glasgow, Arnaho, Ardnamurchan, Sugar Kitty Jeff. On location Ardnamurchan was done back in 2021, I think. Rick Johnson is saying Lag. Yeah, yet it is. So I think it's Dan. VDW. I think it is. The Dungeon in Dornoch. But Gene, we've done a on location from the Dungeon in Dornoch. It's already been done. Thompson Brothers in Dornoch Castle, Everwind, it's been done. I've been there. Kilhoman is saying Martin Jones. Deanston says Jesper. Ian Bruce is saying Glen Turret. So you're all over the map. Please keep guessing. And Lowlander has summed it up. Great. Only 155 distilleries to guess from. I'm looking forward to welcoming you there next week. In the meantime, I'll raise a wee glass and say, let's get the wheels on. The quiz at the end, it's ready to go. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Always good fun. Always multiple choice. You're only playing against yourself. If you want to follow the quiz, want to follow the crowd to help yourself in the quiz, you're very, very welcome to. It's just a wee bit of fun. If you've got your Malt Whisky yearbook on hand, things will be a lot easier. But sometimes it's nice to just kind of see what you can score plain blind on your own. See how you're getting on. If you hang around here for long enough, you just learn whiskey stuff by pure osmosis. Definitely not Kwang Tung, says Peter Lee. There's no prior arrangement and no booking in. Stevie O is saying circumstance. Come on, give the English a chance. P. Ed is saying now you seem to be converted to Melly Mubby Distillery. It's not going to happen, Frankie. It's not going to happen. I know where you won't be. Avon Jarrick. It's quite a journey out to the Outer Hebrides, right? Papa Q saying Tobermory. Sandra Fitzlarry saying, I actually really appreciate the quiz. I learn a lot. Next week, maybe Loch Lomond. So quite a few votes coming in for Loch Lomond. Fraser Mary saying Glengarry. Well, let's see. Let's see where I'm going to be. Question 1. Good luck, everyone. Which of the following expressions has been released as an official bottling from Scapa Distillery? We're looking for official Scapa here. A. Glansa. B. Torfa. C. Skiren. A. Scapa Glansa. B. Scapa Torfa. C. Scapa Skiren. Which of those is an official Scapa release? That's a no then, says Gordon. So we went from 263 to 215 just by putting up the quiz. It's quite fun, isn't it? Everyone, Gail is saying, is it a Speyside distillery? I'm not giving you that much. That would narrow it down by what, a third? 155 to 50 odd. Okay, well spotted, Sugar Kitty, well spotted, Jeff. Fantastic. Scapa Glansa is legitimate. Scapa Torfa is not, but Scapa Skiren is. Torfa was, of course, one of the Glenglassaugh releases before the rebranding Sometimes you get a freebie to start off with, but you've got to watch out for the banana skin. It's not always a freebie. And it wasn't tonight, but still, 66% chance of getting it right. Let's move on to question 2. Which of the following ways to support Aquavitae will still be in place in 2026? Which of the following ways will still be a legitimate way to support me in 2026? Sorry about the self-indulgent question, but I've really struggled to get my point across here. A, Patreon will be legitimate in 2026. B, YouTube memberships, that's the Barfly memberships here, will still be legitimate in 2026. Or C, Aquavitae Guardians at aquavitae.com will still be a legitimate way to support me in 2026. Which of those are true? Thank you for getting the message. Thank you for hearing. Thank you for understanding. They're all legitimate ways to support me going forward. If you're a patron, and if you're part of what I've built over 8 years, I'm not going to throw it out. Patreon might choose to do that, but I'm taking things into my own hands. I'm still going to look after my patrons. You're still going to be looked after going forward, and you're still going to have all the same updates and everything. I just can't offer you a way to link to anything that you can buy. I can't talk about events or tickets or tastings or bottles, specifically bottles of whiskey. I can't offer that to patrons, but everything else, I'm still going to keep you up to date with. YouTube memberships, the barflies here. If you press join here, you get access to the emoji and the badges. Keep everything ad-free. That's valid. Aquavitae Guardians, look at the ticks here. That's the priority. The ticks are the priority. Hopefully you're getting the message across here. YouTube memberships are fantastic. It keeps it ad-free. YouTube keeps 30%, 35% of the cut. It's just the way that it works. YouTube is a fantastic platform. I don't pay for it. It's absolutely free. So they take 35% of that cut is actually an okay price to pay. If they were to charge me on an SaaS software as a service type thing, it would be a very expensive subscription. So I'm okay with that. But where you need to support me going forward is aquavitae.com, is Aquavitae Guardians. Question 3. If Kilchoman were to bottle their first ever liquid they ever distilled today in December of 2025, how old would that liquid officially be? If they were to bottle what they distilled when they first started to distill, how old would the liquid be? A, it would be 18-year-old Kilchoman. B, it would be 20-year-old Kilchoman. C, it would be 25-year-old Kilchoman. Throw coins at your windows. It depends. Would they be ancient doubloons? C, thought no one else takes a cut. The payment gateway takes a cut, and the transaction, it goes through the website, so they take it. But compared to Patreon, it's a very, very small cut. It's much smaller than Patreon. Half of what Patreon took, the new system. Listen, anything you set up, there's always somebody willing to step up as a third party to offer you a value, but absolutely take a cut. So if I put a comment section in, they'll offer me a comment section, they'll take a cut. If I put a social platform in, they'll do a fantastic fully featured social platform, they'll take a cut. Listen, everybody gets their pound of flesh, Ben. It's just the way it works. Martin Jones is saying you can buy a raffle ticket for a bottle from Cask 1. Wow. Jimmy Legge saying I only have loonies and toonies. Okay, that's the coins he's talking about, right? Whatever, the Canadian coins. Don't even know what they are. Most of you are absolutely spot on working it out that Kilchoman, if they were to bottle their original distillate, they first went on stream in very, very late, I believe, 2005. It would be 20 years old today. B is the answer you're looking for. Question 4. Which of these Diageo distilleries is the oldest by original founding year? Which of these Diageo distilleries is the oldest by original founding year? A, Chininic in the Highlands, B, Talisker in the Islands, or C, Strathisla in Speyside? Can I pay Bitcoin aquavitae? Speaking to a guy today who made £48 million in Bitcoin. The ship has long sailed, right? 48 million. Can't even imagine what that looks like. Jimmy Legg, I can't believe you guessed that those are Canadian coins. You're a genius. Context, helps us all. George Petras is on a 3 out for 3 so far. Dancing Midgie is in. I'm always excited to see you, Glenn. Brilliant to see you're still around. I hope your health is well. I hope your boy's well. I hope the family's good. I hope the painting is going well. You can't see it, but just over this line of sight of the screen that I'm reading your comments on is the painting that you did for me way back when. Strathisla, the classic Diageo bottling. Well spotted by Mark. The banana skin spotted. Strathisla is clearly the oldest distillery there, but it's not a Diageo distillery, so it is, in fact, Cheapen. Why did so many people trip up on that banana skin? It's quite incredible, right? Which of these Diageo distilleries is the oldest by original founding year? Cheapen, 1817, I think. Talisker was 1830. Strathisla is 18th century, 1798 or something. But of course, it's Pernod Ricard, the Chivas brothers. Oh dear. Even after all these years, it's still possible to banana skin you. You following each other. Wow. Question 5. We're looking at a still house here, but it's an asshat here. I've pinched this from whiskey.com over in Germany. It's a fantastic picture of this specific still house. It doesn't show everything, but I'm going to ask you, where are we looking? A, we're in the Eastern Highlands. B, we're in the Lowlands. Or C, we're in the Islands. I'll go back. Eastern Highlands, Lowlands, or Islands. Where are we when we're looking at this still house? Where are we? Everyone, Chris is saying, I have a mental block when it comes to Diageo. I try not to think of them. I have to say, Chris, despite everything I think about Diageo, the stuff that they do that's good and positive is quite insane at times. And the distilleries that's under their guardianship, and I don't use that word lightly these days, right? They are just superb distilleries. Superb distilleries. Jimmy is asking what's going on there. Is this a trick of perspective? No, it's cropping of the image, I think, is what you're getting at, Jimmy. Going with the crowd. Everyone seemed to be going for C, suggesting that we're in the islands. I can tell you that the distillery that we're looking at is, in fact, we're looking at 3 spirit stills here. There are actually 2 wash stills, only one in the picture. We are actually at Talisker, which means that we are in the islands. So everyone that answered C, well done. Well done. I think a lot of you are hanging on for question 6 in order to get your 5 out of 10 pass mark for tonight. So here goes. Which of these distilleries is currently going through a major visitor centre revamp and is due to open to the public once more in 2026? We're looking for a major visitor centre revamp due to open in 2026. A, Glen Grant in Speyside. B, Glencadam in the Eastern Highlands. Or C, Edredar in the Southern Highlands. Which of those distilleries is currently going to open its visitor centre after a major revamp in 2026? Oh, splitting the crowd here. Splitting the crowd. Why do I stay up for the quiz when I'm so shit at it, says little Tony. Listen, buddy, hang around for long enough and you just seem to get better. It just seems to get, you just learn stuff. If it's C, it's news to me, says Lachlan Mackenzie. Sadly, my 2026 Whiskey Yearbook, says Everwind, has not arrived yet, so I am behind in the quiz. Should arrive next week. You're about to be overpowered when it comes to the quiz. Wow. This quiz is killing you all tonight. Mark Watt comes in. Did Glencadam not just reopen? Edredar will probably never reopen, so going with A. Mark Watts nailed it. Absolutely. There should be a banana skin on this one potentially. He's absolutely spot on. Glen Grant just reopened in 2025. It's already done. Can't wait to go up and see what's happened at Glencadam. Edredar is very, very likely to never reopen its visitor centre ever again. Very interesting stuff behind that. Be curious to burst that open and explore that a wee bit. But Glen Grant has been shut most of 2025, reinvesting in its visitor centre, and it's due to reopen next year. Wow. Brutal. I'm starting to feel like Menno, but those are interesting questions. Question 7. When was Monkey Shoulder blended malt first developed and launched? When did we last have a sip of Monkey Shoulder? I've got a bottle here, actually. And it's bizarrely within reach. This label has practically stayed identical, I think, since the first ever release of it. But yeah, how long has it been around? Monkey Shoulder, when was it developed and launched? A, between 2003 and 2005. B, between 2010 and 2012. Or C, between 2013 and 2015. Monkey Shoulder. How long has it been around? Feeling like Menno must be atrocious. Had Monkey Shoulder last maybe a year ago, says Ben Demon Hunter. Brother has a bottle. I have to say, it's always a charming wee whiskey. There's nothing. It's very difficult to lay fault at Monkey Shoulder. A wee bit thin, a wee bit light in ABV, a wee bit light in body, blah, 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 and then you sip it and go, oh, no, it's fine. Had it 2 days ago. Bottle skill, says Graham Young. Martin Jones is saying B, but it's probably A. Ben Demon Hunter is going for A. Pete Head is saying A. Boomer is going for A. I think it's Boomer. I think it's changed. You've changed your handle a wee bit. Lots of people going for A, actually. Graham Young's going for C. Jimmy Legacy, and I've never had any of it. We have it here too, just never tried it. Yeah, I don't know. It's decent whiskey on all measurable metrics apart from, is it decent Jimmy Leg whiskey? I don't think it would be a Jimmy Leg whiskey. But bizarrely, we are now 20 years into being able to buy Monkey Shoulder. For as long as I've been into whiskey, Monkey Shoulder, more or less, has been about. Amazing. Amazing. Preferred the Naked Grouse, says Andy Hills. Yeah, it's a bit more sherry casking style. But there we go. A. Question 8. It is widely reported that the first malt distillery to install drum maltings was Speyburn. But in which year was that? When was the first drum maltings installed in Scotch whisky distillery context I'm talking about, of course? Which year? A, 1883, B, 1897, or C, 1916? What year? This is a brutal quiz, my goodness. Is this how I thank you for all your support at aquavitae.com, for switching from Patreon to my own site over the last couple of weeks? For you helping me out, all the challenges that I've faced and the troubles and things that I've gone through, you pitched in and you did exactly what I asked, and I repay you with a brutal quiz. Would you have it any other way? First drum maltings, Scotch distillery context. Which year? 1883, 1897, 1916. Tricky one, right? Unless you know the answer, it's an obvious one. Boomer is saying B seems likely, so C. Second guessing all night tonight. Lachlan McKenzie, Ben Demon Hunter, Big Jimmy Jazz, Jesper, Jerry, Rick, Jean, Danny, Graham, all saying B, 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 B. It's not 1883, says Jimmy Legg. You're saying B, absolutely spot on, because Speyburn was founded in 1897 and they were founded with drum maltings, a unique feature of Speyburn, and I believe that means that they've never had floor maltings for as long as they were distilling. Stevie O saying, I thought Menno was bad. I think these are interesting questions. It's not about being hard or easy, it's about, are they interesting? Question 9. There were only three Lowland distilleries in the 2007 Malt Whisky Yearbook. How many are there in the 2026 edition, the latest edition? There were 3 in 2007. How many do we have today? A, 12, 4 times as many. B, 18, 6 times as many. Or C, 25, more than 8 times as many. Is the 10 an endangered species tonight, says Gene Kelly. I am struggling to see anybody that's managed to. Mark Watt is on an 8 for 8, but I guessed the last one. We don't care if you guess, Mark. If you can hold this together, you might be our only 10 out of 10 tonight. Anyone else on an 8 for 8? This quiz is so hard that Graham Fraser has gotten one wrong. Is Graham in? I've not even seen Graham in. Graham Fraser is in. Oh my goodness, Graham. Jimmy's right. I love it. Fantastic. I mean, I'm not laughing and I'm not happy that Graham Fraser's got one wrong. I just love that you've made such an observation, Jimmy. Okay. How many Lowland distilleries exist in the 2026 edition of Malt Whisky Yearbook? 4 times as many, 6 times as many, or more than 8 times as many as what existed in 2007. I can tell you, amazingly, it is 25, more than 8 times as many. I would read them out to you, but just flick through your Malt Whisky Yearbook, go to the back pages, have a wee look at the map. That's just incredible. It's just incredible. An explosion, that is. Anyway, how are we doing? Is anyone holding on for a 9 out of 9? What did Mark answer on that last one? Come on, fella. Oh, Mark Watt is guessing B. On the last one, that means I think we've lost Mark. B was not the right answer. Frank P. Headroy is so mean. Why did I sign up for this activity? I don't mean to be mean, but it needs to be a challenge. Come on, it's not Christmas yet. It's not Christmas yet. Sugar Kitty, come on. 9 out of 9 for Sugar Kitty. So Jeff's holding on. Graham on a train. Isn't that a kind of Scots dessert? He's saying. Okay, so if Sugar Kitty gets the ass hat, he might have the very rare distinction of managing a 10 out of 10 in solo fashion, even beating out Graham Fraser and Mark Watt. Seb is cancelling his Guardian subscription. Oh no. Question 10. How many Burn malt distilleries are operational in Scotland? Burn distilleries, that's like a distillery with Burn in the name. Is it exactly the same as the number of A, Knock distilleries or Knock distilleries, B, Mill distilleries, or C, Glass distilleries? This is a terrible question. I feel really bad. It's really difficult to appreciate how hard or easy or somewhere in between a quiz is until people are actually playing it. But this is the ass hat. So you need to think about Mike Molasses is saying, oh, for feck's sake. Scott Allen is saying, oh my. FFS Roy says, Andy, come on, think Think of the burn distilleries. Just think of burn distilleries. Come on, parse this out. How many burns can you think of? Shall I pause for a wee while? And then you think of how many Noch distilleries or Noch distilleries there are. How many mill distilleries? How many glass distilleries? I think if I gave you long enough, I think you might actually be able to work this out. I don't think it's quite as brutal as you're thinking it is. Random guess B, says Graham Fraser. Okay, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the answers. Noch distilleries, we have 3. We have Bladnoch, Dornoch, and Manachmore. So we have 3 Noch distilleries. Mill distilleries, we have Eden Mill, Strathmill, and Daff Mill. Glass distilleries, we have 2. We have Glasgow and Glenglassaugh. I don't think any of those answers are correct, so I'm taking 7 for 10. Burn distilleries, so it's either going to be 3 or 2. So you roll your dice now, 3 or 2. You either go A and B for the same answer, or you go C for 2. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? Peter Lee saying C, got to be C then. Can we have it the quiz at the start before I drink, says Mark Watt. Oh, Sugar Kitty. Sugar Kitty. Oh my goodness, look at what Sugar Kitty does. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing, because I have an answer here that does not agree with Sugar Kitty, but he is correct, because I, in putting this question together, have somehow managed to miss Bunnhabhain. So the true answer is not what I'm going to share with you here, 2. It is actually 3. So that means it doesn't matter what you've answered. The game's a bogey on this question 10. Everyone gets a freebie on the ass hat at the end because of Sugar Kitty. Well done. Well done. Speyburn, Wolfburn, and Bunnhabhain. Amazing. Amazing. You guys are smarter than I am. I still think Sugar Kitty deserves and nails his 10 out of 10. Even although it didn't agree with mine, he proved that I'd got it wrong. It's like a bonus 10 out of 10. It's like an overpowered 10 out of 10. I think we all need to fill the chat with celebratory 10 out of 10 emoji for our pal Jeff for Sugar Kitty, because that is quite exceptional. I'll start it. There you go, buddy. Well done. That's amazing. That's amazing. He takes it home. He romps it home. Amazing. Ben Whiskey with Molly, Hellswood, Mark Watt, Graham Fraser. Well done, Sugar Kitty. Well done. What am I going to raise a glass to say thank you all with? It's going to be this. Oh no, that's the Strathisla, but it's just as good as anything. It's fine. it's just nice to have a Cask Strength Strathisla around, right? I have been through maybe 2 of the most stressful weeks I have ever been through on this channel, creating content and doing what I do. Genuinely. Waking up every morning and seeing my Patreon collapsing day by day by day by day is troublesome, and it's difficult. And I have to keep reminding myself that it's my own decision and it's what I'm doing very, very willfully and deliberately. And then I just flick into a different app and I watch the aquavitae.com Guardians building and building and building. And everything is salved and soothed and put into perspective. I know that I'm building for the future. I know that I've taken things into my own hands, and I'm sick of giving money and autonomy and authority to just randomers out there on the planet. I'd much rather it be us. And that's what's happened. And it's amazing that it can happen. And I hope that in a few weeks' time, I'm still grateful and thanking you for all of the possibilities and everything that you enabled, because you did this. But I hope that I'm not talking about this and this issue anymore. I hope that we've just worked our way out of it. And it's not Patreon anymore. It's the Guardians is where the future lies. If you're still on Patreon, thank you. You will not be ignored. I'll still look after you as long as you remain there. But if you have the will and the way and the inclination to log into aquavitae.com and see a much more optimistic, brighter, cleaner, easier, cheaper, more cost-efficient future where we have the autonomy and not some censorship nonsense that comes from other sensibilities that don't align with ours whatsoever. That's what we've managed to achieve in the last 2 weeks. I did it with your help. You guys are amazing. Peter is saying, with that, the long day comes to an end. I'm going to hit the sack. Thanks for organising, as always, Aquavitae, and to all of you future Guardians. See you next time. Slanchivai. Good night, Frank. I love you, big guy. Martin Jones is saying, should I cancel Square and subscribe via Stripe? Yes, I would suggest, Martin, if you could, you cancel now, and then when you don't have access anymore, then start a brand new subscription. Let it expire first, because you're paying a month in advance. Thank you, Martin Jones. Whiskey Hog is saying, stay strong, legend. Thank you, Whiskey Hog. Thanks you for hanging out tonight, buddy. Peter Lee is saying, it doesn't matter how stressed you are. Well, I think you've built a community, and I'm sure everyone will see you right until you can do no more, and then we have all served our time. Thank you, Peter Lee. Jean Kelly saying, I hope you take comfort knowing that you're being well looked after. We're with you, Roy Slanchard. Jean, that means so much. Andy Hills is saying, and with that, I'm off to bed. Good night, Barflies, and thanks for a fun vPub, Roy. We're all behind you. You created a wonderful community here, Roy. Thank you. Thank you so much. Rick Johnson is saying, glad to be a Guardian, Roy. Glad to be part of the support network that lets you do what you want to do, Rockstar. Thank you so much, Rick. That's from a peer creator, by the way, Rick at the Whiskey Zone. Jimmy Legg is saying, whiskey people don't feel stress. They have accumulated too much wisdom. You have, Jimmy. Everything you say makes me laugh. It's a giggle. It's superb. Night Roy says, Lachlan McKenzie, and folks, thanks, tata for now. Nice to have had you in again, Lachlan. Always a pleasure, buddy. And Seb is saying, good night, all. Good night, Aquavitae. Good night, all you sweet Guardians. And Daisy is saying, thank you for a great vPub. Good night, and see you next week. Perfect note to finish on. Daisy, I have to apologize to everyone that's about to see the credit roll that's just about to roll in front of you. I don't know. This is the perfect illustration of the transient situation we find ourselves in, where we've got patrons who are disciples, ambassadors, and evangelists, and where we have guardians who are also evangelists and disciples and ambassadors. And everybody's mashed together for the credit roll at the end, and there's lots of overlaps, there's lots of duplication. This is the longest credit roll that might ever go out after a vPub, and it's an absolute pleasure to share it with you, to the point that if I don't share it now, I'm going to start greeting. I'll remind you all that you're very dearly loved, and I look forward to seeing you from a secret location next week. Slancha.